I know that you want to call in the show, but tonight I'm not Jimmy Snow. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Calling It Now. I'm your host, Forrest, and only Forrest, and I'm joined today by me. You may be wondering, what is this show, and why am I watching it? And quite frankly, I'm wondering the same thing. What we do here on this channel is we take calls from people who vehemently disagree with us. We are atheists and leftists and socialists and feminists and anarchists, and some of us are communists, and we believe in the Constitution and in freedom and in goodness and in truth and love and all those things that we unfortunately have to argue against every week. Things like that slavery is bad and that people shouldn't starve to death in like pretty much any situation. Those are apparently controversial issues. We believe that genocide is wrong, and who know that that would be something we'd ever have to argue about on the internet. We believe that child marriage is wrong, and that pedophiles should be prosecuted. And again, big surprise to the whole wide world. That's what we actually have to be arguing with today. I remember back when I was but a youth, when I was just a young boy 6 years ago in 2020, and COVID was a big thing, and we were talking about mRNA vaccines and everything like that, and I was not really on the scene as a content creator yet. And I remember someone talking about vaccines and RNA and how it's going to hurt you and all these things, and I gave a very calm explanation on the internet about how mRNA works and how vaccination works and how no, these things can't change your genome and how this isn't going to hurt anybody and anything like that, and how it's actually really good to get ahead of things. And someone told me at that moment, someone accused me of being a robot, not like a bot account, like an actual automaton robot that was designed by the government to pull people away from God and to get them to vaccinate themselves so that they would become antennas that they could send signals into whoever they might be. And I remember thinking at that time in my life, man, that's the craziest thing that I've ever heard. Good thing I'll never have to deal with anyone crazier than that. Good thing that that's not something that I have to worry about in the future. Good thing that this will just be a funny little story, a funny little aside that I can laugh about in the far and distant future, talking about how silly it is that someone would believe something like that. And now you can get elected on that. I remember thinking these things, and I also remember that this is an ongoing problem. We have people in our government right now that are proudly and loudly and unashamedly talking about demons and witches and talking about the apocalypse and end times and how we have to go to war because that's going to bring more people against Israel and bring about the second coming. And whoo boy, those are things that we have to deal with right here in the good old US of A, and because of that, the rest of the world. So if you are also filled with existential dread and just general wonder of what could have been had we, invested more in education earlier on in American history, then this is the show for you to snuggle in and get comfortable with. Enjoy the calls, enjoy the show, relax, tune in, grab your blanket, and try not to panic. It's going to be a great show. And for everybody else who disagrees with us on this show, if you are a MAGA supporter, if you are still in support of Donald Trump or anything that he's doing, if you support ICE and their fascistic, authoritarian, white supremacist, police state bullshit tactics. If you believe in a God or gods, especially the Christian God, if you believe that the Bible is the good book and that we need to hear about it lest we burn in a lake of fire, if you are a science denier of any kind, if you don't like evolution or the Big Bang, or you're for transphobic or homophobic, or you're anti-vax or anti-round earth, or whatever the case may be, if you think that Secretary Kennedy knows how to read, this is the show for you. And the number right there above my head, which will soon be in the middle of the screen, is 336-543-2101. And if you call that number or use the web link in the description, you'll be patched through to one of our call screeners who will take your call, talk to you for a minute, understand what it is you're wanting to talk about, and then probably patch it through to us as well. And also, In a few moments, I will also be joined by Luxander Moss. They are currently, I believe, on another show, wrapping up things over there, and they'll be moving in here pretty quickly. So it's going to be a great show to talk about why trans socialism is your future, whether you like it or not. Why there are exactly 37 genders, and every time someone complains, we add 3 more. Why exactly it is that you still support a pedophile, fascist, billionaire, senile lunatic who is running away with your tax money, making billions of dollars off of crypto scams, and funding massive wars that you all ran on, you all campaign for shutting down and ending. Why exactly is it? Please call in and let us know. That MAGA have no morals, have no values, have no ethics, have no plans, have no goals, have no dreams or aspirations, but have only hate for those who are not like them and blind loyalty for their god, King Trump. Because that is what we see. We see an economy that is continuing to get worse and worse and worse. Gas prices are up. Cost of living is up. Housing prices are up. Everything is going up. We see people still in the streets, homeless, hungry, without jobs. We see no change in any meaningful part of American life, except for the fact that it's significantly harder. And we also have Gestapo marching through the streets, arresting people based on their skin color or their accent. And no, that is not a hyperbole. And yes, they are bragging about ethnic cleansing. They posted in December of last year on the official account for, I believe it was for the Department of Homeland Security, that they wanted to have 100 million deportations, I believe it was. Is that the number they put out there? I've got a screenshot of it. Let me double check here. Yes, 100 million deportations. That's about a third of the population of the country. About a third of the United States that they want to kick out of here. Now, there's absolutely no way that you could possibly think for one fucking second that a third of the population of this country are illegal immigrants. So clearly, there must be somebody else out there that you want to get rid of. And we need look no further than the senile billionaire pedophile, Donald Trump, who said that he thinks we should get rid of U.S. citizens as well, that we should strip away birthright citizenship, and that we should look into deporting people who disagree with him. So if you still don't understand why we call you fuckers Nazis, just consider the concentration camps that we are still building and packing full of people. Consider the thousands of immigrants that have been rounded up by ICE and just gone missing, just lost like magic, poof, in the wind. No idea where they are. Consider the raids on apartment buildings where children are zip-tied and dragged out into the cold. And consider the over 100 American citizens that have also been unlawfully detained for being non-white and nearby. It's a bad time in a bad place. But it doesn't have to be this way. Because if you actually gave half a crap about this country, you would be fighting for the Constitution and not the ego of some wrinkly orange ballsack that somehow gained sentience. And with that, we now have Luxander Moss on the show. Welcome to you, my
Speaking
dear
of wrinkly
friend.
ball sacks.
Yeah. Hey, how are you?
I'm doing all right. How are you today, Forrest?
I'm all right. It's been a weird start. I've just been vamping and letting everybody know what this show is all about. As always, lines are open right now. 336-543-2101 will get you through to our call screener, and then they will put you through to us. Lux, what kind of calls are you hoping to take today?
Well, I just got off of the transatlantic, so I just got done talking to some people about trans rights and stuff. So I'm always down to talk about that. But,
yeah,
we don't take more broad topic conversations over there. So I'm also interested in having conversations about politics, the state of politics in the world right now. Oh, God, what is even happening? I have not been paying very much attention. Lots of Iran stuff. The Strait of Hormuz is open. It's closed. It's opened. It's closed.
Yeah.
Tell me how Trump is doing such a great job.
We had a nuclear deal to make sure that they would not gain a nuclear weapon, but Obama signed it, and we couldn't have that, so we shredded that. Then they started doing the things that we didn't want them to do.
Mm-hmm.
So we bombed the shit out of their nuclear facilities a couple of months ago.
Mm-hmm.
Donald Trump said that we completely obliterated their nuclear program and they would never have a nuclear weapon again, and we had just totally destroyed it. And within a matter of months, they've apparently advanced so much that we now need to bomb them a bunch more to fight to stop them from getting a nuclear weapon, including killing a bunch of children, which is usually how these things go. And now we're talking about boots on the ground as well. Meanwhile,
Yay.
we're still throwing just massive amounts of resources to Israel so they can continue their genocidal campaigns in Gaza and now into Lebanon as well.
Mm-hmm.
I was just talking about ethnic cleansing that we're talking about here in the United States, where the DHS is talking about deporting 100 million people, which is over about a third of the population of this entire country.
How are they getting this number? Like, where does that come from?
They just said things. They just say things, and the Nazis that support them clap. And the biggest thing for me is that, like, when I talk about this stuff, very often, two things happen. Number one, Nazis tell on themselves, because all you have to do is say Nazis are stupid, and a bunch of fucking Nazis will come out and tell you how you're wrong. But the second thing is that a bunch of people get really upset that we're throwing around words like fascist and Nazis, and they say, well, you're just saying anybody you don't like is that. First of all, no, that's actually not how that works. I am very deliberate with my language. When I say genocide, when I say fascist, when I say Nazi, I'm talking about specific concepts and specific people and specific things.
Yeah.
If you have it in your head that this just is this super reductive thing that somebody has to wear an armband and hate Jews specifically, I'm sorry to say you've lost the plot, my friend. There's a little bit more to it than that. But at the end of the day, what I think is really interesting about it is that when we talk about this stuff and these people jump out and say, no, it's you. You just say whatever you want, and really it's you that are the fascists. And you know, the Democrats started the KKK, and the Nazis are really on the left. Please find me a quick, just think about it for just 1 second. Can you find me a swastika flag flying at a Kamala Harris rally anywhere where people were really excited to vote for a black woman who wanted to expand health care for people and increase, immigration and whatnot like that? Do you think that's a Nazi platform out there? Can you find me anywhere where the Confederacy, where people are out there flying the old stars and bars in support of DEI and in support of increasing diversity and fighting for women's rights and the rights of non-white people all around the world and feeding the poor and housing the homeless? Do you think that's a position that you usually get with like far-right extremists? Is that something you usually see? No. You see swastika flags and Confederate flags with Trump flags. That's where you see them. That's where you see them. And if you don't believe, just think for 2 seconds, who do these people vote with today? Who do you think the Klan is voting for today? Who do you think the neo-Nazis in this country are voting for today? You need to look no further than the first time when Trump won, and you had that whole goddamn white supremacist meeting, that ballroom. Those people yelling, "Hail Trump!" It's not hard to find. It's very, very scary, and it's very, very concerning. And there's a lot of people out there at all, because when we talk about ICE arresting and detaining people on the basis of skin color and accent, which is a thing that they're allowed to do via the Supreme Court, and is a thing that we've been seeing happening increasingly in the previous few months, they don't mind it, because you need to, if you want to know why ICE using people's skin color as reasonable suspicion that they might be an immigrant is so fucking stupid, all you need to ask is every American citizen white? If the answer is no, then that is blatantly unconstitutional, racist, and just fucking dumb. The problem is, the people I'm talking about here, just to connect this all together, when we ask that question to most MAGA folk, the answer is, damn, I wish. Because there's no reason they would be voting for this shit otherwise. And I don't think that there's a lot of them that won't admit it. They don't have the presence of mind to be honest about it. But you don't vote for this kind of shit. People endorsed by Charlie Kirk and the like. People who promote the Great Replacement theory. People who align themselves with the KKK. People who are so very open and honest about the fact that any immigration is a problem because it should be America first, blah, 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 blah. And also, you're not allowed to say the word black, and you're not allowed to say the word woman, and you're not allowed to say the word LGBT or anything like that if you want to have any participation in this government. Not fucking hard to see what erasure looks like and what dehumanization looks like and what that cisgendered, heteronormative, white nationalist, Christian, in quotation marks, male-only world bullshit looks like. It sucks that we're having to deal with it still, but we
Yeah.
shall not rest until every Nazi is dead.
It's also such projection. Like I have been around in the online space for longer than I would care to admit, and I remember when they would call us feminazis. Like, so
Yeah.
you're trying to say, oh, I'm calling you a Nazi out of nowhere. Like, again, like, first of all, yeah, like genocide is a legal term. I am appealing to a specific legal definition of the term when
Yep.
we're discussing that topic. And fascist as well. Like, there is a specific type. It's not just an authoritarian. It's like a lot of things that go into that as well. And so I'm trying to be specific. And like, yeah, I remember, this idea that like, oh, you're anti-free speech. Oh, really? Who's the party right now that's trying to they're now trying to push to have any trans character in anything means that it's going to bump up the rating from like, so if it's in a kids show, it's now it has to be parental guidance or PG-13 or something. So like and like Jimmy Fallon and Colbert. So tell me more about how I, the feminist, am trying to destroy free speech. Projection. It's all projection from top to bottom.
It absolutely is. That's the thing. Like when we talk about there's the old adage that every single accusation is a confession when it comes out of MAGA, and you see that especially I think in no better way when we talk about the Epstein files. When they talk about, oh well, Biden was hiding them for so long. Okay, so just gonna ignore what was going on with that and the whole legal proceedings. Fine, yeah, they should have released them earlier. Okay, who currently could just snap his fingers and release all of them? Who currently is doing his level best to hide them? Who currently is redacting hundreds of entire pages that look like black construction paper now because they're just completely blacked out? Who currently has doxed more victims than exposed perpetrators? Who currently is listed in those files thousands and maybe even fucking millions of times? And Epstein himself said is like the worst person he's ever met. Is it Biden? It ain't Byron. Nope, not Byron. Fuck, dude. I don't know what to tell you, man. I don't know what to tell you. You've got just a team of corny ass white supremacists that are running the show for you. And that's why you have DHS pushing those fucking manifest destiny ass posters and stuff, talking about how it's God's will. And you literally got fucking Deus Vult tatted on the fucking Secretary of War, which, this is an aside, but I've said it before and I'll say it again. Changing it from Department of Defense to Department of War and running the shit that they've been wearing. It is a fucking, you could not have made it lamer if it was a 12-year-old, like, naming their fucking, like, Call of Duty squad. Like, it is that. It's a whole other thing. Point is, you have a group of people who are stupid people's ideas of what smart people look like, and weak people's ideas of what strong people look like, and powerless people's ideas of what powerful people look like. And what are they doing? They're running the exact same play they've always run. Here's these people over here that are exactly like you, live exactly like you, need the exact same things that you do, want the exact same things that you do, but they have a different religion and different skin color, and they talk kind of funny, so they're the problem, and we're going to blow them the fuck up, spending, hundreds of thousands of times more money, orders of magnitude more money than we would ever need to give you healthcare, housing, affordable food, affordable gas, any of that stuff. Fuck that stuff. We're not raising the minimum wage. We're killing those people, and you get to vote for me to make sure that it happens. And everyone claps, and everyone votes. And God, it sucks. Hey, if you think that I'm wrong about any of this, though, this is the whole point of the show. 336-543-2101 is the number on the screen, or you can just call on the web link in the description there if you're outside of the U.S. We'd love to talk to you. Because, man, MAGA sucks. Donald Trump is a racist, fascist, piece of shit pedophile. And the rest of his cabinet, it's a shame there's not a hell for them to burn in. And we're here for you.
Yeah.
If you want to talk, we're here to talk about capitalism and socialism. We're here to talk about why MAGA is anti-America and anti-freedom and has no values of their own, but only hate and blind loyalty. And we're here to talk about gods and trans people and whatever other silly ass thing comes up. We've had a few people popping in, and very few of them made it past the screener, so we'll just wait a little while longer. In the meantime, how are you?
I mean, I'm just wondering if they have anything other than whataboutisms, because I've been breaking my rules about social media recently. I'm trying to be completely off of it, which subsequently does mean that I'm not catching the news as much. But I have been engaging in some discussions and arguments in some like local groups to me here in Oregon. Like Oregon's a purple state, basically, or it would be a purple state if it weren't for the fact that, you know, we have like mail-in voting by default and like a lot of progressives who live in the big cities. But every time we're trying to talk about something like, you know, like you were talking about, like the pedophilia allegations or accusations and the Epstein files and all this, all they have is whataboutisms.
Oh
All
yeah.
they really have is like, oh, but what about Biden? And then they don't know what to do when I'm like, also fuck Biden. Like, yes,
Yeah.
also fuck Biden. Like, to be
Yeah,
clear,
sure. Who
if
cares?
you want to call in and talk to us, we're both like socialist, leftist type people. We are anti-capitalist. We don't like fucking Democrats. So you're not going to accomplish anything with that. So do you have any justification for like why is it acceptable that we haven't released the Epstein files? What reasoning do you have for like the mysterious circumstances around Epstein's death and the fact that like the only person who has been arrested in relation to the Epstein files is Ghislaine Maxwell, who is currently living out her sentence in like a super luxury prison? Why are all these things happening? And in a way that doesn't just come back to like, well, Biden did this. Like, I know. I also don't like him. And like, okay,
Yeah.
this is even more cringe to me. How frequently, especially with the Iran conversation happening right now, how frequently people are like, well, Obama, you know, oh, he gave him all this money or whatever. And it's like, first of all, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about, because we had frozen some of Iran's money and it had been years and years and years. And so we gave them back their money plus interest because we had taken their money away from them and gave it back. So, but yeah, when we're talking about, you know, we're trying to make salient criticisms of what's happening right now, and people, conservatives, cannot shut up about
Yeah.
things that happened 12 years ago. I'm like, I'm talking about right now and the situation
Yep.
right now. And we don't even have to look at Obama. Like you said, Trump is the one who dissolved this deal. And I've been on with Jovan a lot, and he knows a lot of the stats on this. Like, we made this agreement with Iran, and they were allowed to have up to 20% enriched uranium because that's the number that you can have to do nuclear research. And
Yep.
then when Trump dissolved the deal for them to not enrich uranium beyond 20%, then they are allowed by just like general, everybody is following international law. They're allowed to have up to 60%. And that's what they have. And that's what they did have. And if you are worried, you're like, oh, you know, their entire slogan is death to America. They've been saying over and over again, death to America. Do you think attacking them without provocation is making it more or less likely that they would make a direct attack on America? Do you think we are increasing, or do you think we're fixing our reputation with them? How do you think that they're going to feel if their original position was death to America? Do you think we've made that better or worse by killing their
Right.
children, by ruining the lives of 150 families who suddenly lost one of their children? Like, yeah, it's crazy time. It's crazy time right now.
Yeah. It donks, dude. It absolutely donks. We've got calls pouring in right now. We've got looks like 5 or 6 people hanging out in the call-in queue waiting to get to the screening room. So we'll continue talking for a minute. We got one person in the host queue there, but they are seems to be on our side, so, or at least somewhat on our side. So maybe it wouldn't be good to start with them.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to start with somebody who's just like, I find these conversations actually really frustrating. I don't want to talk shit on this person without bringing them on too much, but like,
Yeah,
I do
fuck
find
you,
it really
person who is currently
frustrating.
waiting.
Yeah.
Politely.
I mean, we just had this, like our first caller we took on Takis was somebody who was like talking about how the way that one particular trans person wrote their fiction with a trans person as the protagonist, like that it was problematic somehow. And so it's like, why are you telling me about this, first of all? And second of all, why are we tone policing what
You
people
don't
write?
speak for all of the transes.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
So
exactly. But like,
this was another trans person. You probably know them. is what it is.
Exactly. You
We
know,
all know each
it's a
other,
small world after all.
right?
It's true. I'm the monarch of all transes. They all answer to
Hmm.
me, and they don't do
Hmm.
anything without my explicit permission.
Hmm.
In case anybody didn't know that, if you want to do anything in your trans, you have to ask me personally for permission. Actually, for the
Yep.
love of God, don't do that. Do not flood my DMs. I will
Everybody
lose
message
my
Lux.
mind.
Everybody do it.
I don't respond to DMs, so you'll just be shouting into the void, which, that's fine. But people are always trying to refine their arguments in a way that, like, I think, they come in and they criticize us oftentimes, if this is the context in which I'm experiencing this,
Hmm.
whether it's socialism or trans rights or whatever. We get these callers sometimes who are trying to say, well, we shouldn't be arguing this way. We should be arguing this other way. And I think the problem with that is that folks are desperately trying to cling to a sense of control, as though if you just argue for your rights in just the correct way, people will listen. But I've been
Yeah.
watching for the last 5 years over and over and over again these impassioned, articulate, and specifically around trans rights, like trans people coming to the committee that's about to pass a horrendous anti-trans law, and they're saying, here's the ways in which this is going to compromise my safety. Here's the ways in which this is going to harm my family. Like, I am not trying to peep on anybody in the bathroom or whatever. Impassioned, articulate, pleas for, like, hey, I'm begging you not to pass this law, only for that shit to pass unanimously. We need to give up this idea that if we just hone our arguments and say the exact correct thing, that we're going to magically change the mind of people who are trying to scapegoat us in a fascist takeover of our country. Like, there
Hmm.
is really only so much we can do. And yes, I am here engaging in rhetoric. That's my job. That's what we do. We are propagandists in a way, and we are trying to educate people in a more interpersonal way. Like, yes, I have changed someone's mind one to one, like one person to another person, but politicians aren't people. They don't care in the same way that regular people do. They are complete slaves to financial interests. And so they're not going to be responsive to those things. There are solutions to that problem, and they mostly aren't based in rhetoric unless your rhetoric is organizing people on your own side. Like, sure, you
Hmm.
can improve your rhetoric in terms of like how to be a leader amongst the left, how to turn people who are on the fence, how to turn liberals into leftists, that kind of thing. But as far as
Hmm.
like our struggle against the gears and the machinery of like a fascist takeover and like the attempted fascist revolution that's coming up soon, like, nope, there's not a lot you can do except like literally go organize and be on the streets in your community.
Seriously, and that's what gets me, because we have somebody here in the chat who was muted by our mods a little while ago, said the left would be better if they stopped focusing on social issues. The government can't change a racist mind. Focus on the proletariat. Who's out here fighting for a better minimum wage? Who's out here trying to decrease housing costs? Who's the one trying to fight for Medicare for all and make sure everybody can see a doctor and they don't just die if they're too poor? Who's the one
Mm-hmm.
trying to lower the price of insulin? Who's the one trying to lower the price of other prescription medications? Who's the one trying to make groceries cheaper, gas cheaper? Who's the one trying to make sure that everyday average Americans are able to pay their bills and take care of their children and get a proper education and live the American dream? Which party's doing that, and which one's giving tax cuts to billionaires again?
Hmm.
Sorry, I happen to know how to walk and chew gum at the same time. So,
Walk
like,
and chew gun.
I can, yeah, and I want to in this fucking economy. But like, at the end of the day, dude, we're talking about like bigger issues. We're talking about, will democracy survive? We're talking
Hmm.
about a government that is actively, rampantly, flagrantly, and unabashedly violating the Constitution. So yeah, we're gonna talk about that shit. We'll fight for people too. We'll fight for those proletariat all day long. Very
Hmm.
into that. I love it being the main focus of what we do. But at the end of the day, we can't do that if our country's falling apart. And we can't do that if we're fucking run by racist pedophiles. So, sorry, man. Gonna have to do both, it turns out.
Yep.
Uh, we've got a few callers on the line right now. Let's start with Michael, who is a Republican and a theist who wants to talk about how we're evaluating Trump. Michael, you are on the show with Forrest and Luxander. How you doing today?
Hi there. Hey, thanks for having me on, guys.
Hello.
Hello.
And Michael, we've got, first of all, how old are you?
Oh, I am 32.
32. All right.
Same
I was that age for a few years. And really quick, we've got a little over 1,000 people watching right now, Michael. When they talk about you in the chat and afterwards, do you want them to call you a he, a she, a they, or something else?
Well, I am a man. I am a he.
He. Okay, so we'll go with he. All right, Michael. So what exactly do you want to ask us about?
Well, I guess I just wanted to kind of piggyback off your last statement. I'm hoping we can find a couple things we agree on, and maybe we can illustrate where our disagreements are most clear and what exactly they are about, right? Because
Sure.
I happen to believe that, we don't have two halves of this country that need to go to war and kill each other, right? That we just happen to disagree about certain things, and so we're going to have to compromise on those things. And
Sure.
I sort of feel like, and I don't mean this as an attack, right? I'm just, this is just a point of discussion I'd like to bring up, that the type of rhetoric you use when you talk about danger to democracy and, the fall of the republic and fascist takeover, right, isn't really appropriate. And I'd like to kind of illustrate how it makes me feel, if you care at
Sure.
all, right? If I were to stand up in front of, if I were to stand up in front of 1,000 Christians and conservatives and MAGA people, right, and talk and rail about how the transgenders, they want to cut your kids' genitals off. They're going to steal your kids and cut their genitals off, and they're going to lock you up and kill you if you try and stop them, right? And all the gays are going to overrun society, and, they're going to use women as cows, as donors, right? That's what the surrogacy trade is going to develop into. And just to fearmonger, right? These people who I know already kind of agree with me are already kind of in this bubble where they're getting these messages already, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think I might put the life of a transgender person at risk? Do you think there's a chance somebody in that crowd says, "Man, they're going to cut my fucking kid's dick off. I've got to kill them.
Yeah.
I don't want my kid's dick cut off."
Absolutely.
I want to ask you a question.
That's just how it
So
makes
do you
me
want to go
feel,
first,
and then
Lux?
I'll wait for your response.
Mine's real quick.
Yeah.
Okay,
so
you
real
go
quick,
first.
did a trans person who was running for president say any of those things? Because a Republican president or former president running for president said, you won't have to worry about voting again. So when I'm talking about a fall of democracy or like your vote's not going to matter anymore, that's what he said. And it's not like I'm making shit up out of nowhere. I can point directly. There's video. There's video evidence of it. So
I hear you.
Right. That was
I'm
going
not
to be that was gonna be my
fear-mongering.
question as well.
Yeah.
That was even my question as well. Is that I agree with you, Michael. If you were to get up and say those things, yes, you absolutely would be putting trans people in harm's way, and that is because you were talking about a broad group of people in very dehumanizing language based on things that simply aren't true. Meanwhile, Donald Trump has repeatedly said that he's going to be a dictator when he gets into office. He said some people want a dictator, some people want him to be a king. Wouldn't it be nice if he had it? He has been selling Trump 2028 merch this whole time, bragging about how he is planning to run again in violation of the Constitution. He is already violating the Constitution, especially the 5th and the 14th Amendments repeatedly. So he is very clearly saying and acting as if he is serious about not being, taken out of power very easily and being willing to fight against democracy. So when I say this is an anti-American, anti-Constitution movement, I'm speaking from experience. I'm speaking from reality. I'm not just fear-mongering.
I see. So I guess what I hear you guys saying is that you're not talking about all conservatives are fascists and we need to fight all conservatives and, we need to go out and fight, people who disagree with us on tax policy. You're saying that there's one person at the top who says these crazy things. Can I ask you, do you guys think that if Trump announced his intention to run for a third term, that I, as a Trump-supporting, voted for him, I didn't vote first time, but voted for him the second time, right? Do you think I would support him having a third term?
Some conservatives would. I don't know you.
So, yeah, I agree. I would not say that all conservatives are bad people, but MAGA is a specific movement within conservative Republicans that, as I said earlier,
a part of MAGA. I consider myself
right. Then I would not be surprised. then I would not be surprised at all if you voted for him a third time. I don't know you personally, Michael, but if you did, I wouldn't be in the least bit surprised, because what we see out of MAGA by and large, as I said at the beginning of the show, is that they have no actual values of their own. There is nothing that they will stand for, that they won't forgive when Trump goes against their own ideas. The only thing they have is blind loyalty to Donald Trump and hatred of people that Donald Trump tells them to hate, namely immigrants and trans people at this moment.
So can I ask you, do you think you are speaking in broad terms and dehumanizing terms about a vast group of people right now? Because it feels to me like you are. It feels to me like
broad
I'm being
terms,
dehumanized
yes.
and attacked. Right?
Broad terms, yes. I would argue against dehumanizing, but like I could see where you're coming from. The key here, again, is that I am speaking from experience. Donald Trump, for example, MAGA for the past 2 elections, their biggest thing has been talking about the Epstein files. Their biggest thing is that every single Democrat politician is a pedophile, and they're probably in the Epstein files, and we need Trump to purge the government. Drain the swamp was what he said the first time, right?
Yes,
and so all we've had for the past 2 elections was that we need to get all of these corrupt people out of government and drain the corruption from the government and get money out of government, and there's all these pedophiles in there that we need to get out as well. And now what's happened? Trump is protecting those pedophiles and is refusing to release the Epstein files, is named in them quite a lot himself, and we are putting more money in government. Trump is making billions of dollars off of a crypto scam right now. He is giving tax cuts to billionaires, giving his cronies promotions, filling key government seats with loyalists rather than experts. He is the corruption and the swamp that they said needed to be drained, and he is the pedophile that they rallied against, and yet you still cheer for him and you still support him.
Well, see, you've made a lot of allegations there, right? And so,
like what?
It's not as if I accept your premises, right? If I accept your premises, then I accept your argument, right? So obviously, we disagree on the premises of the argument, and that's what I was trying to get at is that I think instead of assuming that all people who support Donald Trump would vote for a third term would gladly sign away the American experiment because of some blind loyalty to some demagogic figure, right? I'm not thrilled with the guy. Let me be honest, right? I wish we had another Republican candidate. Oftentimes, do I still consider myself his supporter? Yeah, I do, because he's the best option. But my point is just that maybe instead of our side sitting over here saying you guys want to take children away and castrate them, and you want to make everything homosexual and destroy the nuclear family and destroy all our history.
Michael,
instead
question.
of us saying that,
Michael,
let's
Michael, do you believe any of those things?
Do I believe any of those things?
Yeah, any of the things that you just listed as examples.
Oh, no, not the sensationalized, fear-mongering
stuff. Okay, because what you are saying are... Yeah, we genuinely believe the things that we are advocating for. Like, we genuinely, when we say Trump is sheltering pedophiles, that is based on his behavior and his actions. It is not comparable, especially if you don't actually believe in the idea like all trans people are going after your children. And like when I'm saying Trump is protecting pedophiles, and like many conservatives in his immediate inner circle are doing that, and many of his supporters seem to not care, because I speak to those people on a regular basis. Like I have conversations with my conservative neighbors in my local community, and I know that there is not a great amount of concern for the idea that Trump is shielding pedophiles. And like there's a lot of deflection and a lot of pointing at other people, right? So we're talking about different scales of things. And like, again, we actually believe that what we're saying is grounded in actual facts, and we're not attempting to foment fear. If you, as a conservative who supports Trump, feel as though these comments are directed at you, then I'm curious why you feel some kind of implication of guilt. And like, I mean, in more direct terms, I'm also curious how you can continue to support grab him by the pussy Trump, who is like, it's part of his divorce record that he violently forced himself on his ex-wife. Like, the idea that this is to you the best option as a Republican candidate is part of why I am disgusted with conservatives.
Well, let me ask you a question, if I could.
Sure.
Is that okay? Do I have a minute?
Yeah, by all means. By all means.
if you were to have a choice of candidate, right, the Democratic candidate, let's say, who is, an extremely, progressive person and is fighting for all of the causes that you like, but personally, right, maybe they beat their wife 15 years ago, right? Do you think that you would just kind of sacrifice all of these causes and things that you want to see and all these things you stand for over that one issue? Would that be enough for you personally to say,
if somebody that I supported did something wrong 15 years ago and they have served their time for it, justice was served for it, they have corrected their ways, and nothing has happened since then, I'm willing to live in a society where people are able to grow. Would I like that person? No. Would they be my first choice? Absolutely not. Right. But I'm willing to make to give you where you're coming from here. Yeah, if somebody did something wrong 15 years ago, I would be willing to talk about that, and I'd be willing to have that conversation. Probably would still have a bigger problem for a wife beater, but like, holy fuck, if they have fixed it and they went to anger management class and they got on whatever meds they need and they're better now, I believe that people can grow and change. Here's the thing. When we have Donald Trump, he didn't do a wrong thing 15 years ago. On the campaign trail this whole time, he has been sexist and racist and predatory. We have decades of documentation of him bragging about sexual assault, bragging about pedophilia, bragging about treating children like sexual objects. We have mountains of cases of him making fun of disabled people, making fun of people that he finds unattractive, making fun of women, calling women fat, pigs, dogs, ugly, saying that it's very hard for them to be a 10 if they have a flat chest. He said of his own daughter when she was an infant that he hopes she grows up to have her mother's big tits. He said of when he was running the Miss USA pageants on Howard Stern shows that one of the benefits of that is that he gets to go backstage without these women's consent and see them while they're changing, even young underage girls. He gets to see these incredible young bodies. We have decades of Donald Trump being an absolute fucking creep, and now we have the Epstein files that he promised to release to get your vote, that he is now protecting, where he is doxing victims by releasing their information unlawfully and protecting perpetrators, and he himself is implicated in them, and his own Justice Department is so fucking incompetent that they are having to retract things because they released them and it has his name all over them, and they pull it back and say, oh, actually, sorry, we're not supposed to do that anymore. He is a long-term abuser. He is a long-term rapist. He is a long-term adulterer. He is a long-term racist. And you voted for him with all of that in his track record and continue to support him.
No, because so this is not one person right?
One person did one thing wrong. This is a fucking monster who knows how to con somebody like you and say whatever he has to do to get your vote, and is now backtracking on all of his promises as he did the last time as well.
Can I try to illustrate to you what this feels like from the conservative side, just to see if I can bridge the understanding gap here a little bit? Because I think the issue is,
I can understand if you feel personally attacked. Like, I can understand that feeling.
It's not that I'm feeling personally attacked, right? Because here's the thing. I never stood up here and tried to make an argument that Trump is a good person. I never did. You're saying he's a bad person. I think I agree with you, right? I think we agree that he's kind of a scumbag. But the question isn't, is he a good person, right? Does he have good character? Or even, does he have integrity?
Michael,
even?
Do you think that what our country shouldn't have a man of good character as its leader? Is that not a factor for you?
No, that would be vastly preferable, right? But if I have a choice between integrity or the causes that I care about being advanced, or the opposite causes being advanced, then I've got.
How do you know the causes? How do you know the causes that you want are going to be advanced if you vote for somebody without integrity?
Fucking true.
Well, you've got to hope, right? But I mean, that's why I think this conversation is bigger than Donald Trump. I mean, he's going to be out of office in a few short years, and then we're going to have to.
Yeah, but he's going to be out of office, hopefully. But his ideology is not, and the rot that he has instilled into this the institutions is not, and the fucking racists that he has stirred up in America are not. Donald Trump promised to release the Epstein files. he has now been hiding them. He promised to lower prices on day one, end inflation, and make America affordable again. Inflation has continued to accelerate. Prices are continuing to spike, mainly because of his tariffs. He repeatedly promised that he wouldn't touch Medicaid or Medicare, even though whatever. He signed one of the biggest healthcare cuts in history. He promised that he would protect Social Security, his own big, beautiful bill. His own fucking Treasury Secretary said that this is a plan to privatize Social Security. He promised to stand with working people. He's been giving tax cuts to billionaires. So you say you're voting for this guy because he wants to advance things you want to advance. That's what con men do. You voted for somebody without integrity intentionally, and then they lied to you, and now you're having to sit here and defend it. Why are you surprised that a lying liar lied?
Man, you've got a good monologue. Okay, listen. So if you can point out one of those examples, I think it would be a good exercise. It would be interesting and intriguing for everyone to go through one of those examples and to see, what do we think about this? Do I agree? Can I accept that evidence, that fact that he did this thing and admit that it was wrong? Yeah, I think that'd be interesting. But what I think is more interesting to talk about is what you said earlier about his ideology, because that's what really matters. Like, tell me what's wrong with the conservative ideology that I have, like how it's been corrupted, how it's racist. And
I don't know about your specific ideology, Michael. I can make some assumptions considering the fact that you're still supporting Trump, but I can talk about Trump's ideology, because Trump's ideology is that anybody at all who isn't a white, Christian, male, cisgender, heterosexual, wealthy person who is currently supporting him is a stepping stone to his own success, or something that needs to be burned down and gotten out of the way so that he can continue to progress. That is what he shows time and time again.
Feel like you
where
can
even the people
that as a fact.
Absolutely,
I can by
that as a fact. I can absolutely do that, not only by going through all the different people that he scapegoats for his own failures and for our country's problems, namely, again, immigrants and trans people, but also the long list of people that he himself chose and put in positions of power only to stab them in the back and say that they're complete idiots who nobody should trust anything, that are completely just terrible, useless rejects that nobody should have ever trusted in the first place and should never be, because they didn't immediately do his bidding as fast as he told them to do it. So yeah, I can demonstrate that in a lot of ways.
Okay, and maybe we should go through that, but I just for the record, I'd like you guys to know that most conservatives and the vast majority of MAGA Republicans, of American flag-waving Republicans, are not racist. We are not racist.
Did they vote for a racist? Because that kind of makes it a little bit racist.
Your personal beliefs don't necessarily matter if there is like consequential harm as a result of your actions.
Donald Trump said that foreigners are poisoning the blood of our country. He said that illegal immigrants are not really people. He said that they are coming here with bad genes that cause them to commit more crimes because they are genetically inferior to us. Those are all racist Nazi talking points, and you voted for it, and you still support it.
And in spite of that...
So I'm pretty confident saying that there's a racist issue there.
Well, no, but in spite of all that stuff, like, he won the popular election, right?
Right, because a lot of racists voted for him.
No, there aren't that many racists in the United States of America.
There are that many people, Michael, who are willing to accept having a racist president, which means like the real difference. What's the difference between being racist in your heart and supporting a racist in the president and knowing that he's going to enact racist policies that harm your neighbors? I don't care what's in your heart. I care about the material harm.
I understand. And maybe we could, like, you could I'm sure you have examples of you feel like material harm, but I feel like most of these examples are going to center around immigration, right? Not like black people or Chinese people.
Oh, definitely black people too, but...
we can do all of them if you'd like, but it would be fun to start with immigration. I would love to know why you think it's appropriate for ICE to stop people and detain them in a concentration camp based entirely on the color of their skin or their accent.
Well, so I would argue with your first premise, which is that they're being stopped entirely based on the color of their skin.
They are allowed to. The Supreme Court just said that they are allowed to stop and detain people because of the color of their skin and because of their accent, and if they have certain jobs.
Ever been on a police? You ever been on a police ride along? Either of you?
Would that change anything about this?
Yeah. How does that affect the fact that the Supreme Court has given carte blanche permission for racial profiling?
Because racial profiling has been going on forever. It always
does that make it good?
Well, no, it doesn't make it good, but also it doesn't necessarily make it evil, right? Racial profiling
absolutely makes it evil. It absolutely makes it evil. There's a reason why the Supreme Court just had to allow it, because ICE was being sued over it.
I understand.
Because race is a protected class. Race is a protected class in this country.
The Supreme Court that Donald Trump packed said, yeah, you can do whatever the fuck you want. And now we have multiple cases, over 100 cases, of U.S. citizens, including veterans, being stopped and thrown in cages by ICE because they were non-white and just around.
I mean, hey, if you can show me that example of that happening, I think me and a lot of other conservatives would fight back against that kind of thing.
There's a Wikipedia page.
Right now.
There's a Wikipedia page that documents all of the United States citizens who've been detained by ICE.
And I
can actually give you the name of this guy right now.
Not something.
So this is just one. Right. One example was, I'm trying to find this guy's name. Let's see here. Chong Li Thao, that's the guy. He is a elderly Laotian man. He came to this country before I was born and is a naturalized citizen. I believe he's in Minnesota, if I remember right. ICE went to his door. They wanted to fingerprint him and search his house. He said no, because that's his Fourth Amendment right. And so they beat down his door, put him in handcuffs, dragged him into the snow in his underpants, and detained him for several hours because he is a Laotian man. So they just assumed that he was illegal, and he is more of an American than I am.
He is now going to have a multi-million-dollar lawsuit against the federal government, right?
That you have to pay, don't you?
Yeah, yes, that doesn't matter, first of all, because the fact is the policies that Donald Trump has been enacting and enforcing is what led that to happen in the first place. And second of all, as Lux just pointed out, that's now your problem as the taxpayer. You now have to clean up Donald Trump's racism.
I understand, but listen to me, excuse my language. Hear me out here, okay? You don't get to claim that this is a Nazi fascist takeover while also acknowledging that the person who was wrongfully arrested is going to become a millionaire through a lawsuit, which is the criminal and social justice system at work doing.
That's actually a civil case, isn't it?
Wrong.
Yes, I didn't say that. I didn't say that every single judge is a Nazi. So of course we still have some good judges in this country that are going to fit for this. But we also have other cases like George Reitz here, who is an Iraq combat veteran and also a Mexican American who was also detained by ICE. And while he was screaming, "I'm a citizen, I'm a veteran," they said, "I don't care." Called him some slurs, threw him in a van, and he was taken away from his family, detained in a concentration camp for several days, and then released with just no explanation. And he has also had to go testify before Congress about this, and he's not even close to the only one. So we have case after case after case after case of ICE acting like Nazis, going door to door, demanding citizenship from people based on their skin color, hiding their faces, wearing non-matching uniforms, not wearing badges, using lethal force a lot of the times against American citizens. We've had multiple cases of that as well. And throwing people in concentration camps where we have multiple reports from the ACLU and Amnesty International and internal whistleblowers and U.S. citizens that have been thrown in there that they are being tortured, starved, denied medication, sexually abused, raped, and killed. So you don't see why the Nazi comparison is appropriate there?
I mean, I think it is unhelpful. I'm not going to say it's completely inappropriate.
You think it's unhelpful to say... You think it's unhelpful to say that armed thugs marching through the streets, rounding up non-white people and throwing them in camps where they are beaten, tortured, raped, starved, and disappeared, and then a lot of them have died, over 2,000 are missing, you think that that's not a helpful comparison? I think that's a very helpful comparison.
What I mean by not helpful is, how many people's minds have you ever changed by calling them a Nazi? How many people's minds have you ever changed by calling them a homophobe or a racist? You know
actually, it does work sometimes because it helps shake people up. But at the end of the day, if somebody's going to support that, knowing what that is, I frankly don't care about their feelings or getting them on my team. There are exactly two people in this world, Michael. There are Nazis and people who hate Nazis. I'm on the hate Nazi side.
I see. I guess that's one way of putting it, but
do you disagree?
Get down to the, well, I don't know. That's quite the generalization, isn't it? There's two types of people. There's two types of people in this world: people who like chocolate and people who don't like chocolate. Like, I guess that's true. You know?
Sure. Sure. And if you had one of those groups going door to door arresting all non-white people because they might be immigrants, I would have a problem with those people. Probably call them Nazis.
Yeah, but the massive difference is the Nazis never got sued afterwards. The Nazis never had to release anybody by court order. You know?
Right, but which is why they got as far as they did. Thank goodness we have good judges that are willing to fight back in this country, because that's the thing. We could have stopped the Nazis early. We didn't. Now we get to stop them early in this country.
We also have a much larger country with a much more decentralized system of moving through the courts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So like, it's harder. I will say it's harder to enact a Nazi agenda here in that way.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I hope you know that me and a lot of conservatives like me would never support Nazis, and no matter what you're being told by whomever you're being told it, we actually don't support Nazis either, and we don't like Nazis, and we might disagree on a couple facts, a couple things, you know, we might have a conflicting set of facts, but we actually agree on a whole lot more than we disagree on in this
Michael,
country.
do you support
like
ICE?
When, for example, when Hitler said that immigrants aren't people, they are literally animals, you wouldn't have supported that.
No, I would never support anybody calling any human being an animal, right?
Except that
you voted for the guy.
That is not a quote from Hitler. That is what Donald Trump has repeatedly said. He said that you wouldn't believe how bad these foreigners are. They aren't really people. These are animals. And in another instance, he said, I don't know if you call foreigners people. In some cases, they're not people. And as I also mentioned earlier, he also said that immigrants have genetic defects that make them commit more crimes. He said that they are all rapists and criminals. And he also said that foreigners are poisoning the blood of our country, which is all Nazi rhetoric that he said before the election.
I understand. So I think you keep bringing up like sensational statements that Trump has made, but
yes, because I think that a president who speaks like that doesn't deserve to be the president.
Also, Michael, you're calling that sensationalist, but he has followed through on those statements. That is policy now. That is what's being enacted now on the ground currently. Like, things are not better in Minnesota just because it's not in the news now. Citizens are being terrorized. Communities are being terrorized. People are having to hide inside their homes, and their neighbors are having to arrange to send them groceries because they can't. Parents cannot stand outside with their children at the bus stop in the morning because they could get swept up by ICE. So this is not just sensational rhetoric. This is policy. He said it, and it happened. He said it, you voted for it, and it's happening now.
I mean, I think that's the fundamental disagreement. I think is the important thing for our two sides to discuss is, you know, because even after Trump's gone, right, we're going to have another discussion here. And the question is, do we have a right to remove people who entered our country illegally from it or not?
That's not the discussion. The discussion is whether or not the question is, as we talked about before we took this call, are all U.S. citizens white? Because if the answer is no, then it's pretty obvious that what ICE is doing is fucking evil, and there's no excuse for it.
Your question,
and saying we just need to get rid of illegal immigrants isn't an excuse for acting like all U.S. citizens are white. The reason why we have this going on is because there's a lot of people in this country, especially up at the top, that wish all U.S. citizens were white.
But no,
also, like, Michael, you make this appeal to illegal immigration. People are being picked up by ICE at their immigration hearings, like when they are about to make the oath that says, "Hey, I'm a naturalized citizen now." So people are trying to do it the correct way, and they're being bagged up and taken away.
We have multiple cases of ICE detaining people at immigration court and also at their naturalization ceremony, And it's not about them paying taxes either, because we have used tax records to also go after these people as well.
Yeah,
it's all just horseshit. It's all just racism.
But can you hear me out on this one point, right? Because this is where I think a lot of conservatives are coming from. Is, do we have a right to remove illegal immigrants from our country and force people to only come into our country through the legal means? Like, is that something we're allowed to do? Because if you guys
we
agree,
are allowed to do that in one specific way. We're allowed to do that in one very specific way. Those people get equal protection under the law and full due process. That's what the Constitution says. It says that every single person, not just citizens, it doesn't say citizens, it doesn't say people with the right documentation, it doesn't say Americans, it says all people under U.S. jurisdiction have equal protection under the law and the right to due process. So yeah, Michael, if you want to get rid of people who are undocumented, do it. Do it in a way that is constitutional and fair and keeps those people's rights and dignity intact, like Obama did when he deported more people than Trump ever has while following the Constitution.
Hey, look at that. We agree. Isn't that great? I agree that we should deport as many people as we possibly can who are here illegally.
No,
that's not what we said.
That's not what I agreed to. I agreed that we can do deportations if we do it legally. You voted for somebody who doesn't do it legally and has said repeatedly that he doesn't think the Constitution should apply to him.
Hold on. Why are we disagreeing? We just agreed, right? The only thing I added was I wanted to deport all of them.
We agreed that deportation is allowed, but it's allowed following the Constitution. Obama deported more people than Trump did. No, you're not, because you voted for Trump, who is violating the 5th and the 14th Amendments and has repeatedly said on camera that he doesn't think that the Constitution should apply to him, and he has to fact check whether or not he actually has to follow it, and that the Constitution should be suspended in his favor because he's better for the country than the Constitution is, and also that we don't have time to follow the Constitution because he wants to deport more people, and also the Department of Homeland Security said that they want to deport a third of the population of the United States.
So listen, I think this is a great campaigning tactic for you, because a lot of conservatives don't think this about you guys, right? They think you just want to have no borders and never deport anybody and let anyone in the world just walk into the country for any reason. If the next Democratic candidate can stand up there and say, listen, we understand we need to have borders. We understand we're a sovereign nation and people don't just get to walk in here without permission, right? And we are going to deport you if you do come in, but we're going to do it legally. And we're going to deport more people than Trump, but we're going to do it the right way, and we're going to respect people's dignity and human rights.
I would still be disappointed in that approach because Michael, immigrants are good for our economy. They're good for our nation. They're good for our birth rates. So here's the thing, Michael. Most people who are here illegally are here because they've overstayed a visa. And a lot of the times, those people are falling through the cracks because of bureaucratic nonsense that's been put in the way. Like, okay, if you need to have a lawyer, okay, that costs money. And if you have to take time off work to go to your hearings, well, if you lose your job, then your kids are not going to be able to eat now. So the idea that for a misdemeanor crime, which overstaying your visa is a misdemeanor, it's like jaywalking. The idea that you should have your entire life uprooted and that you should be sent to another country when you're trying to build American, like you're trying to contribute to American prosperity, I think that that's vile. And I think that the solution to this problem is to take away all the stupid ass barriers that are making it harder for people to become citizens. We should streamline the process. We should take the funding that's currently going toward militarizing our federal agents and instead turn that into more people who are handling the cases and, freeing up those opportunities, making it easier for people to become full citizens or long-term legal residents. It's like a lot of bureaucratic nonsense is the reason why there are illegal immigrants here. It's not like, it's not a majority of them are criminals crossing the border illegally. It's people who came here legally, who just fell through the cracks, didn't have the money, didn't have the time to go through the process. So why would we? Because we know for a fact that all forms of immigrants in this country, they pay taxes, they work the jobs that many other people don't want to work. They contribute to the community, both culturally and financially. Why would we want to kneecap our country by removing those people who are hard workers and contributors?
Well, I guess that comes down to another fundamental disagreement or, different view on...
Is it that you don't agree that it's good for our economy? Because that's not a fact that can be argued. It's not a fact that can be argued. That's statistics. Yeah. That's a fact. So if you have a different opinion, then your opinion is not in line with the facts.
See, that statement right there on its face just can't be true, right? Because facts and opinions are not connected in such a way. What I'm saying is, here's what I hear.
Is it your opinion that immigration is bad for our country's economy?
My opinion is that immigration has both pros and cons for this country, and your opinion seems to be that it has only pros and no cons.
So would you just to be clear, to be, oh my God, would you have supported a candidate other than Trump who would have supported, for example, comprehensive immigration reform to, like we said, get people out of the country that are illegal, but give people a better path to citizenship so that they can do it the right way, and backed a bipartisan border security bill that both sides can agree on that would have helped secure the border?
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, my mother immigrated to this country when she was 18.
Except you didn't, Michael, because that was Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris said that she supported comprehensive immigration reform, and at that time, we had a bipartisan bill in the Senate for border security reform, and it was supported by both sides, and Kamala Harris supported it. Donald Trump opposed that bill and got it shut down, and you voted for him.
Sir, perhaps if I was a single-issue voter, you'd have me in a gotcha, but...
You just said you would have supported. You said a minute ago that if Democrats want to win, which, by the way, neither Luxander nor I are Democrats, but you said if the Democrats want to win, all we need is to get out here and say, we support, a border security thing. We support making sure we get out illegal immigrants, and we want to make sure the border's secure and have a better path. And you just said a second ago you would have voted for somebody who wasn't Trump if they supported a package to secure the border that Democrats and Republicans could agree on. You had that in the last election. You had all of that in the last election. But you voted for the guy. You voted for the guy who instead was a fucking convicted rapist and a 34-time felon and bragged about grabbing women by the pussy and cheated on his wife with a porn star. You voted for that guy instead so that you can sit here and make excuses for him and say, well, I didn't want a perfect character guy. I had to vote for somebody who had no morals because then I get what I want, which is what the other lady was running on.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to ever try and defend Trump's character,
Yeah, that sucks, dude. I would rather vote for somebody that I could stomach. But you voted for somebody who goes against what you believe in and does the opposite of what he says he would do that got you his vote in the first place twice. So I don't know, man. I don't know how to get through to you besides to say this is what we're talking about when we talk about how MAGA has nothing of their own. Clearly, everything that you actually support, you don't really care about that much because Trump goes against all of it. What you have is loyalty for Trump and hate for immigrants. That's it. And with that, it's been 37 minutes.
You know how ridiculous that's? I am an immigrant to this country, sir. I did it legally, I'll have you know. So that's how fucking stupid you guys sound. Okay?
And just really quickly, Michael.
Deteriorated since I
just really quickly, Michael. Are you white?
Everyone you're hoping to convince, you demonize them. No, I'm not, you dumbass motherfucker. I'm glad I'm not a white cracker like you. And you,
so just to be clear, you got to immigrate to this country in a time when Donald Trump didn't have power, because if Donald Trump had been in charge when you immigrated here, you wouldn't be here anymore because you're not white. You would have been picked up by ICE.
You wouldn't have been arrested at your naturalization.
Legally, you stupid piece of shit. Legally,
yes,
you've never heard of that.
And ICE has been arrested. And if you had been listening, ICE has been arresting people at their immigration hearings and naturalization ceremonies, Michael, and you still support it. You support him attacking people like you.
Yeah, I mean, when I hear this kind of rhetoric, I think, you know what, we just need to go to war and actually take all you guys out. I guess that's where we're at.
There it is.
Let's go.
There it is the whole time. I call you fuckers Nazis, and you're like, no, that's really harmful. All I want is a civil war to take out anybody who doesn't disagree with me. Go bitch somewhere else, Michael.
No,
what happened? I went to go pee and I come back and the fake politeness just gone, just totally deteriorated as I sit here playing with my trigger guard that's not on my Glock right now.
He got triggered because I pointed out the fact that Kamala Harris supported the things that he just said he would have voted for. And then he said, well, I'm not a single issue voter. And I pointed out, you're not any kind of voter, because everything that you have said that you support and everything that you want and everything that Donald Trump said that got your vote, he went against all of it. And you still supported him the entire time. Mm-hmm. And then it evolved into that madness because he's an immigrant too. And he's one of the good ones, though, you guys. The leopards are never going to eat his face.
Have fun with that. Yeah. That was crazy.
Thank you for confirming my point, though. What a great call. Honestly, 37 minutes well spent. Because through that whole thing, we saw again and again and again and again and again that Michael, a self-described MAGA supporter, a Trump supporter who voted for him multiple times, doesn't give a shit about anything that Trump says or does or believes, as long as Michael, specifically personally, is not being affected by it. But Michael would go kill people that disagree with him.
Yeah. So did not improve my opinion of conservatives as generally being pieces of shit.
No. Defended Nazi rhetoric, defended Nazi tactics, defended Nazi talking points, got upset that anybody would call him a Nazi, and then immediately acted like a fucking Nazi.
Crazy.
It's like we said at the beginning. If you want to know where the Nazis are, all you got to do is say Nazis are stupid, and all the Nazis will pop and be like, hey, that's divisive. We've got a few more callers on the line, but if you want to be on this great show, the greatest show on the whole wide internet, and maybe make a good point, it'd be a lot of fun. All you got to do is pick up that phone call, 336-543-2101, if you are a MAGA supporter, or if you are a Christian and you want to talk about the Bible and why we should believe in it, or why we need Jesus, that'd be a lot of fun. Or if you want to argue about trans people, we're always here to argue about trans people. We like them. We think they're pretty sick, and you should probably call in and tell us why we're wrong. It'll be neat. Again, that number is 336-543-2101. As you've just seen, we are very nice. We will let you talk. We will let you make your points until you inevitably crash out because, you know, your bullshit fucking Newsmax talking points don't work on us.
That was very fun.
Let's talk to John, calling in from California, who is another MAGA supporter who thinks that Trump is a good president. What's going on, John? You're on with Forrest and Lux. How you doing today?
Hey, how's it going? Man, that last talk, it took a while.
It sucked. So we had a lot to get through.
Yeah. Well, hopefully this one's not worse.
What did you want to talk about?
Yeah. What's the claim? Am I doing the claim, or are you doing the claim, or?
You're doing the claim. We opened the lines to Christians and MAGA and transphobes and everybody else. So what do you want to talk about today? Preferably something we disagree with.
I think Trump's a good president. Yeah.
Okay. On what metric?
Well, I think he's doing good at the border. I think he's doing good in foreign policy. I don't think his rhetoric's awful. You know, his rhetoric's like, yeah, it's not horrible, but it's strong. You know, it mobilizes people. It's like, hell yeah, you know. Mm-hmm. I think he's doing pretty good on abortion, taxes.
What we said in the last call, let's go through these one at a time here. What we were talking about a lot in the last call was this whole thing about immigration and whatnot, and now you're talking about rhetoric. Just out of curiosity, did you hear the part of the last call where we were giving specific quotes from Trump about what he thinks of immigrants in this country?
Yeah, I remember that.
Okay, and so you think that it's not extreme. I believe that's the word you used. You said it's not too extreme, and it's just mobilizing people to say that immigrants poison the blood of our country. You don't think that's an issue?
No, you know, I think that's not a good thing to say about people who are just immigrating here to immigrate here legally, whatever. But if he's talking about like someone coming from, I don't know, somewhere, and they're like a rapist and a bad person, like I don't have a problem calling a rapist poisonous.
So like, for example, if someone was poisonous. Right. So if someone, for example, was convicted of rape, as was held civilly liable of sexual abuse, and a judge even came out and said, yes, this is absolutely a rape conviction for sure, you would think that that person was pretty poisonous.
Well, I know you're talking about the Carroll verdict, but that got thrown out, and there was actually a $5 million verdict.
No, it didn't.
No,
it didn't. In fact, he actually had to then pay her a bunch more money for libel because, and slander, I believe it was, because he then came out and said that it was all fucked up and hoax, and that she was she was lying and it was all bullshit, and it had literally just been proven in court that he did in fact rape her.
It's also a matter of record with one of his divorces.
Yep. So you've got a guy who is a rapist, who is convicted of 34 felonies, is all over these Epstein files, and he's out here saying that other people are bad, and you believe him, and you're cool with the Nazi rhetoric because of it, and you don't actually care about any of it because you just hung up. So you're a liar and a coward.
Frankly, what a pussy.
you just suck Trump. That's it. It's just for Trump. That's what we said. I'll say it again and again, and MAGA will continue to prove me right. They don't have any morals of their own. They don't have any values. They don't have any beliefs. They don't have anything that they stand for. They just blindly support Trump and blindly hate immigrants, trans people, and whoever else Trump says to hate. That's it. Nothing.
No,
I would never support. I mean, I think it's reason if someone's like a rapist or something like that, I would support that guy. Trump's a fucking rapist.
like almost respect for giving up and not for like pushing back on that.
At the end of the day, fuck, man. Anyway, let's talk to Steven. I don't know what's going on with this call. So let's get Steven, who wants to talk about political content creators and how we should call each other out. Steven, you're on the line with Forrest and Lux. How you doing today?
I'm doing good. I want to open by saying that I'm a progressive, and everything you guys have been saying, I'm full throttle with. Like,
awesome. Really quick, Steven, before we get into the call, Steven, really quickly, how old are you?
I am 27 years old, although I am a trans woman, and unfortunately I live in a certain part of the state of Ohio where saying that out loud is not good.
Risky, yeah. For you. All right, cool. So I'll put down she, her pronouns. And Steven's the name you want to go with?
Just because it's easier to get away from the name that I'm actually using.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I just want to make sure I'm not being a dick to you out of convenience. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Oh, thank you very much. So I've got a pretty weird topic to bring up because I know it's a bit complicated, but I've been thinking about it for a while, and I guess I just want someone who's like in that sphere to like, I guess, hear me out on this. But my basic perspective is in regards to leftist famous YouTubers that do deplorable things. So I'll give you a couple of examples. Obviously, there's Vosh, and I saw on social media in the past how, I believe his name is Stephen Bosnell, Destiny, literally mocked sexual assault in the comments of a Twitter thread. And at least to my knowledge, that was never brought up. And I think the effort we put in to take conservatives down for pro-rape culture bullshit is wonderful. The manosphere is very dangerous and feeds on the insecurity of men to make them depressed and keep them in a cycle of entrepreneurial greed so that people like Andrew Tate can sell them on rape. And I think it's deplorable and disgusting. So when people like Destiny and Vosh co-opt leftist language and pretend to care about social issues and then talk to women like they deserve to be taken advantage of, it just, I think there should be, and maybe this is an overstep and I apologize, but I'm a firm believer that there, like, at least on a grander scale, I feel like there should be a greater effort taken to diminish, ostracize, and call out these things, because I don't care if it comes from a leftist or a conservative. that behavior is not something that should be encouraged.
Yeah, I agree with that, and it's the same way I feel like there's a lot of leftist creators out there that are still throwing around the R word and stuff like that. So yeah, I definitely understand where you're coming from. I think that we work on the internet, and so we need to be able to call each other out, and that person should then take accountability for that and show improvement, and then be okay after that. If you're doing more harm than good, then yeah, deplatform. But like, if someone is doing a lot of good and they say something stupid, they have a really stupid belief, and they get educated on it, and then they say, hey, fucking, I'm sorry, that was really boneheaded of me. We all fuck up and we all have big blind spots. That's one of mine. I'll never do that again. And then they don't do that again. I think that's probably good. So like, I don't know the specific instances you're talking about. I'm not super familiar with these people. I think I know who Destiny is. I don't know who the other person is, but I don't really watch this kind of shit. I just make it. So I think it's totally reasonable to say that we should be holding each other accountable, and I think there's plenty of instances of us doing that, or at least on this channel.
Mm-hmm.
I think it also depends on like what is the goal of, so the line is an organization in a way that like these other content creators, like while they may have an organization structure of like employees who edit their videos or whatever, we exist in a kind of different way or in a different space sort of. And if our goal is to move elections, like we are going to be getting involved, you know, this is a big year for us as far as like pushing our growth because we want to try to influence the conversation nationally. We want to influence elections, and we might make some partnerships with other organizations that are trying specifically to influence elections. So if our goal as an organization is to promote the rhetoric, obviously, and to change the tone of the national conversation, I honestly don't really feel that it's in line with our organization's goals to participate in basically what I view, because I'm familiar with like Vosh and Destiny and like all of these kind of conversations that have happened and like the debates between leftist streamers and everything. It really is kind of like high school drama shit. And like, I'm not to say that like Destiny being pro sexual assault is like unimportant, but you know, for us as an organization, I think it makes sense to be like, we will not have relationships with those people. We will not promote their content. But what are we really accomplishing by like talking about someone, especially if they have a smaller platform than we do, or if they're on a completely different platform? Like Destiny is not on YouTube anymore. Like, what kind of sense does it make for us achieving our goals to call out? Like when there is this big thing going on, like the president of the United States is attacking trans rights and is challenging the idea of having free and fair elections going forward into the future. So yeah, I feel like it honestly can cause us to backslide and backtrack if we are doing a bunch of like leftist infighting when we could be just like focusing that attention on like the actual enemy. Does that make sense?
No, that makes sense to me, because like I'm not gonna lie, I'm like obviously I brought that stuff up as an issue, but like completely separately from that, I'm in like full agreement. Like there was like I don't know if it passed, but in another state there was like a law like that was at least pitched to bring back conversion therapy, and that's insane.
I think that I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I thought you were stopping. Go ahead.
Oh, you're good. But like, it's stuff like that, and preventing trans people from, you know, entering the military, not including, you know, trans affirming care and welfare, or not. Well, sorry, wrong. Social programs. My bad. It's just a lot of things that make it clear that, and this is what terrifies me the most about that, as far as I can tell, they aren't using dog whistles anymore, which means they're just outright, we're not far from the final steps of, like, you know, displacement, genocide, among other things. We're already there with immigrants. ICE is capturing people in the street.
Yeah, no argument here. What I think is important about all this, because like I said a minute ago, I think it's important that we do hold each other accountable, and because it's very easy, that old Nietzsche quote, you know what I mean? If you're fighting monsters, you have to be careful that you don't become a monster as well. And it is very easy to be so angry at the world around us and about the fucking creeps leading it, that we want to lash out against them in ways that are actually causing blowback against the marginalized communities that we're talking about. Like I said, so having a leftist creator calling someone the R word over and over like that, you get in the heat of it and you're like, oh, well, I just want to call this person stupid, and you don't realize what you're saying, and it's that kind of shit, right? I think it's important to keep ourselves accountable, keep ourselves on the straight and narrow, keep each other on the straight and narrow, and work for each other. I think it is also important to say that there is a lot of infighting between leftist circles, where the communists and the leftists and the socialists versus the real liberals versus the neoliberals that are basically conservatives versus the this and the that and all these different things. And you get people who are just so focused on splitting hairs between those things, which they should do, they're right to do, but they get more busy fighting each other than they actually do fighting the right. So if you have some creator who's kind of a liberal guy, but he's out here taking on MAGA and he's knocking them down one after the other, do that. Support that. That's great. And then when the fascists are defeated, then you can go head to head with this person and talk about how much Medicare should be for everyone or whatever else like that. Like that's, I think, when the time for that is. If someone's going to be a problematic piece of shit and someone's going to be using improper debate tactics and making us all look bad, throwing slurs, being abusive, being whatever like that, fucking can them. Don't worry about that. But if your argument with another creator is how far left they are, not whether or not they are on the far left, I think you need to work together long enough to fight the real enemy first. But that's just me. I think that the more pressing issue is us killing each other while Trump continues to rule. So that's just my whole jam. And I think there's valid criticisms against what I just said. And I think that there are more supporting arguments for what I just said. So, like, I'm not saying it's a perfect claim here, but definitely if you're looking at somebody and you're, like, judging them because they had XYZ take that wasn't necessarily even a bad take, just wasn't as far as you want it to be. And it's kind of problematic in this way. And it didn't really take into account the plight of this one community over that one community. When this person is fighting against MAGA and is actually knocking down, Trump trolls and shit like that, fuck, man. Like, save that fight. Hold your breath. Save that fight for a couple of months after election's done. You know what I mean? That's my whole jam. But anyway, with that, we've got other callers on the line, including John, who called back in. So I'm going to jump over to that call. But I appreciate your call, Stephen. Good luck to you.
Thank you so much.
Take care. Bye-bye. All right, I take back everything I said about John running away. Apparently, he called back in. He got disconnected somehow. So I take back everything I said about John running away, unless it happens again, and then I will be laughing a lot harder. Not because it may be true, but because it would be very funny at that moment. Anyway, John, we got you back on. And sorry I said you ran away. I didn't realize you got disconnected. Where did you want to pick up?
It's okay. I understand. Let's pick up where we left off with the Carol thing. Just to hammer down, I promised I wasn't running away. Total concession. Yeah, I was wrong about that. I looked it up after it disconnected, and yeah, that's my bad. I was wrong about that.
Sick. I'm glad to hear it. So yeah, this is what I'm talking about, though, is that when we talk about MAGA, it seems to me that y'all care more about electing this guy than you care about who he is as a person or what he's actually going to do for you. He goes back on all of his promises. He supports things that you don't support. He says things that you like to hear because he's a con man and he's good at doing that. And then he stabs you in the back, makes your country worse. And the only reason why you're not, burning his castle down with pitchforks and torches is because he's told you that the pitchfork people want to steal your torches and the torch people want to steal your pitchforks. That's it, man.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good meme. It's an interesting thing. Sometimes I just think the Democrats want SpongeBob, like this perfectly moral, not rounded. I'm thinking of the Normal episode, but this giggly, this happy.
Yeah, he's square. Come on.
You know what I mean? Yeah. I just think sometimes it's like we want SpongeBob. It's like we don't want SpongeBob. We want someone who's tough, and that's Trump. He's tough.
I feel so I get where you're coming from here. I feel like it's a false dichotomy, and I also feel like Trump is not tough. Because at the end of the day, I also want a tough president, right? I also want a president that I know we can lean on in wartime, and I know will protect us against threats, and I know will not back down to bullies. And then we've got Trump, who is totally fine with doing whatever the fuck Israel says, totally fine with doing whatever the fuck Russia says, doesn't care about what China says, just letting that shit happen. But he'll fight a trans person, by God. And what you have is somebody who puts on this facade of toughness and talks about how big and strong he is, literally bragged about the size of his penis on stage once at a rally. And that's okay, I guess. And you're willing to work with that because, A, he's not some soft, squishy SpongeBob guy, rather than just taking in someone who's fucking serious,
Yeah, well, I mean, I think just like you said, like you want someone who's gonna kind of make you feel safe, and he's got things under control, and I think that's what he's done for the conservative. I mean, think about this, like all the negative press and the controversies, people still voted for him. Now, why is that? It's the same reason people voted for the. No, it's the same reason people. Well, I'm not going to deny that because he's made a lot of money, and I don't think he can make a lot of money without being a con man. But regardless of that, I think that's why you're seeing so much support for him, and but I do think that's necessary. I think it goes a long way, with foreign policy. I think people feel safe. And I think it's a good thing.
I think the reason you're seeing so much support for him is the same reason you see support for any other fascist ideologue, cult of personality that we look throughout all of history. He has very populist ideas. He says your gut feeling and your intuition is more important and more valuable than any expert education. He says, I'm big and strong and only I can fix all your problems. He blames everybody's everyday problems on people that are easy to blame and too weak to fight back. He guarantees that he's going to hurt people, and that is what a lot of Americans believe is what strength is, that strength is the ability to hurt, the ability to fight, the ability to blow up. That's what a lot of Americans see as strength, which I think is fucking stupid. And he gives you the same grift that you can pick any other fascist populist. Here's all your problems in a handbasket. It's all those people's fault. And if you elect me, I'm going to make sure those people suffer, and I will restore you to a magical, mythical golden age that never fucking existed. This is literally textbook shit. And that is exactly what he's giving you. When was America great? It was never what he promises, and it never would be what he promises, because what he promises is fucked up. It's just an absolute lie that can only survive on subjugation and oppression. So, like, sorry, man, he conned you. He's a lying liar who told you lies. And that's what he did in the first term, and that's what he did this term. He's gone back on so many of his big campaign promises that got him elected. We talked about a bunch of these with the last one. MAGA has been rallied for fucking over 4 years about the Epstein files thing. And what did Trump say? They're going to be out day one. I'm going to put them all out there. Yes. Sorry, I didn't think I was switching, but I can understand that. Yeah, go ahead.
No, you're good. I just want to jump in. Shit. Yeah, man. I mean, some really good points there. I think, I don't know. Have you read Plato? Like, about the noble lie?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think there's some, I think that's part of it, though. I think there's some I think being the president is just something we can't fathom, right? And there's a weird there's a weird bundle. There's so much responsibility that comes with it. And it's something we can't completely understand. I think there's a lot of these noble lies that happen that we can't quite articulate, and it causes, I think, both sides to get mad at the same person, even, because nobody likes being lied to, right? But I think there's a bigger, more utilitarian thing going on here.
Let me dig into what you just said. because I have a lot of problems with it, but I want to pick a couple things here.
For sure.
So the presidency is this massive responsibility that's veritably unfathomable to us poor mortals, right? So you have all this immense responsibility, all this. I am, that is hyperbole. I'm just being silly. But like, you know, you did talk about him the same way Christians talk about God there for a minute, which is concerning, but not the point. The point is you have this, you know, massive amounts of responsibility, which I agree. Presidency is a ridiculous amount of responsibility and requires a superhuman amount of knowledge and patience and effort. So this is why the president would surround. Well, this is why the president should surround himself with a good cabinet, with experts in various fields, and with people who know what they're doing to advise them and make sure they make good decisions, and to delineate out and that authority, delegate out power to make sure that things run smoothly. Trump instead is consolidating power in the executive branch, making sure that he can make unilateral decisions about the entire country. And instead of surrounding himself with experts, he's surrounding himself with loyalists and pseudo-experts who will do whatever he says. He put RFK Jr. in as health secretary, a man who is famously anti-science, doesn't believe in science, doesn't believe in modern medicine, has caused the deaths of dozens, hundreds of people for spreading pseudoscience propaganda, and immediately now that person is gutting biomedical research, gutting the CDC, destroying vaccine protections, and we are seeing resurgence of diseases that we thought were eradicated in this country. Because, more than anything, the one thing RFK Jr. is loyal to Trump. And it doesn't matter what else he believes. He's loyal to Trump. And so that's the issue. Yeah. You're sitting here saying that, like, this presidency is so immensely, monumentally huge, we just can't even fathom it. Okay, I'll buy that rhetoric for a second. That means we need the best fucking people surrounding him. But Trump doesn't care about that. Trump cares about bringing in people that will unabashedly and undeniably and unfailingly support him and back him and kiss his ass no matter what. We saw it with Kristi Noem. We saw it with Pam Bondi. We see it with Stephen Miller. We see it with RFK Jr. That's the only one qualification to get in the Trump cabinet, is love Trump over everything else.
Yeah, but he's firing them.
Yes, he's firing them after they are so embarrassing that there's about to be a lawsuit or something. And after he put them in, saying that they were the best one for the job, and he picked them himself, and he knows because he's a great businessman, he can pick them really well. And then as soon as they're fired, he says they're complete rejects, stupid idiots that nobody should have ever trusted, and whoever put them in there is a fucking just dumb moron. They never should have been allowed, just like he did with the head of the Federal Reserve right now, who he appointed, and he is now saying is completely worthless and should have never been put into power because he isn't sucking up to Trump.
Yo, we got to talk about. I really want to talk about the Epstein files. I think that's a juicy one. I think we got to get into that. Yeah.
Hell yeah. Should Trump have released the unredacted Epstein, or not unredacted completely, redacted only the victims' names and then released the Epstein files in full, which is what he said he would do on the campaign?
Yeah. So I think he should have. I think he should have fully redacted them. I think he did better than any other president did when handling the Epstein files, though, because
by not releasing them until Congress voted and like forced it to happen, and then they still didn't do it.
Yeah, he's still violating the law on that.
Yeah. Well, they're out, and they weren't out before.
No, they're not.
No, they're not.
Not all of them. About half of them are out, and
would you say that they're more out than they were under Biden?
Oh, sure. Sure, but there's two things to consider here. Number one is that, obviously, there's the whole thing about with Biden where they were tangled up in litigation, and there was like I don't think litigation is the right word. Active lawsuits, yes. So they could not have been released at that time. And also, more importantly, if we just remember what Trump said about it, Trump said, I'm going to release them immediately. Then he said they're on the Attorney General's desk, ready to be released. Then he said they don't exist. Then he said they're a Democrat hoax. Then he said quit talking about them. And then Congress, every single member of Congress, for one piece of shit, all unanimously voted to release them.
and then the DOJ violated the law and didn't release them, and then released small batches of them that were more redacted than they were legally allowed to be, then retracted a bunch of them, and now we still have about half of them that are out, and they have gone through and removed a lot of documents that were made public because they include Donald Trump's name. Do you think this is honestly better than Biden, or do you think this is Trump continuing to protect pedophiles, especially himself, by doxing victims and protecting the perpetrators?
Well, I think intent. I think there's an aspect of intent that's really important to look at here. And before we say Trump is protecting pedophiles, but do I think it's better that these documents are out when they weren't out before? I would say that's better. I think it's good, even though it's messy. And those evil people, they're going to make it real messy. They're going to make it real messy. And that's kind of going back to what I say about being the president. And we can't fathom it because there's a lot of things behind the scenes we don't know. We don't know the vultures flying over, making this decision and that decision. And we don't really know what plays into it. How in control is Trump really? And I kind of just have to look at outcomes, and I'm like, okay, the files are out, but under Biden, they weren't. There was nothing going on. And I know you're talking about the litigation thing that was happening, and I'm just like, how could, Biden is in power, and I know he was a bit old and whatever, but he had help, and it's like, why can we not override that and still give the people
So it sounds like maybe this is a confusion about how the legal process works. So when a case is being litigated, certain information remains private and is only available to like the judge and the people prosecuting the case. Like, for example, there was that big Johnny Depp Amber Heard thing, and there was like Amber Heard's name was being dragged through the mud, partially because a lot of the information was being concealed because it was an active litigation. And when the information became publicly available afterwards, it turns out, oh, Johnny Depp has been spinning this and withholding information and portraying this in a way that makes her look much worse, because it was very clear in the aftermath that he was like abusing her, and that, she was maybe acting erratically as a result of being abused, but it was definitely not that she was like the person driving that. But we were not able to find that out in its totality until after the fact. So like the judicial powers being separate from the executive powers means that if there are active lawsuits regarding individuals named in the Epstein files, there is no executive power to override the judicial process and publicize that information. It would compromise the integrity of those court cases.
Yeah, it just sounds like an extension. It sounds like, oh, there's a lot of mess here, let's keep this going as long as possible. And I get what you're saying, but it's like, come on, it was such a smoking gun. I mean, seriously. I mean, we have to go and litigate that for years, and we don't know.
Yeah, I'm sorry that the justice system works really slowly, but that it's a frustration that I have. But yeah, the justice system kind of moves slowly sometimes. And now that those cases are not being litigated, if you think that Biden had the power to just post all of them, just, publish all of them,
Trump did.
All of the files. Okay, so Trump now has that power and didn't release any of that shit until after it was forced into law by Congress. Like they passed a law that says you have to publish them. And then they're okay. When you're like, oh, they've published some of them now, we have entire pages blacked out. Entire pages,
hundreds and
top
hundreds
to bottom,
of
redacted in black Sharpie. So like in what justification do you have for that? Like, how can you defend that decision and the decision to publish victims' information while redacting the information of the potential perpetrators?
I'm not defending that. I think it's abhorrent.
Why are you whatabouting about Biden
and
then to dodge the question?
I think that it's abhorrent. I think it's disgusting, and I think he made the right decision of firing the people who were revolving around responsibility for that.
Okay, so then why hasn't he released them all with the stroke of a pen, which he could absolutely do?
Yeah, he's replaced those people.
It is the law that they should have been released. Like I said, the Epstein Transparency Act passed almost unanimously, and only after the names of the voters had to be made public. It was almost unanimously passed, and then the DOJ is now we're like a year now almost of not doing anything about it. We're just, it's not a year, it's 6 months.
Did
now
it pass in December, something like that?
I can't remember. I forgot what season it
Yeah.
was because my school's been weird. But yeah, no, it's been over about 6 months now at least. I can't remember the exact date. Forgive me, but months and months where we are out breaking the law, where they were supposed to be released in full back then, and we've just been getting a little trickle of thing after thing. And not to mention, after we release them, the DOJ then retracts some things when it's found that Trump's name is in them. They release some stuff, and then Trump says, hey, my picture's in that, and they pull it back. And they say, no, you can't look at that one anymore. Why? What is that helping? Who are we protecting in that case?
Yeah, I think we're protecting like just the general consensus of the president in the country. And you're probably like, well, yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's like,
yes,
it's a bunch of bullshit. But I think the thing there though is it's one of those necessary things, and maybe you could argue that because people see that they redact it and it's like, dude, what are you doing, right? But I think the intent there is redact it or people are going to freak out, and like even though maybe this is a harmless thing or whatever, people are going to riot and go crazy and have unrest, and this whole situation once again, I think. As a Republican, I think we're a bit more utilitarian, and I think we're like, this is probably going to have a worse outcome for people, so we're going to have to do this. It's one of those noble lie things,
Yeah, I don't buy that. I think that the noble lie is not good. I think that it's not worth it, and I think that the truth is more important.
Well, yeah, you do.
What are you looking at?
Were you just criticizing Biden for not releasing them, and now you're saying it's good that Trump isn't fully releasing them?
No, well, I mean, there's a nuance there. Come on, right?
I mean, it seems like you're just directly contradicting yourself. You want to criticize Biden for not releasing them, but then you're saying it's actually a good thing that Trump isn't fully releasing them.
Well, yeah, but why am I Come on, why am I criticizing Biden for not releasing them?
That's a great question. Is it because you're a hypocrite and you're a conservative who wants to whataboutism about everything? I called this out before we took a single caller today, by the way. I called this out before we took a single caller today because I've been having these conversations where whenever we try to address something Trump has done, conservatives go, well, what about Biden and what about Obama? It's like I literally an hour and a half ago called this out.
Whoa, keep the faith good. I mean, I'm not using whataboutism to excuse poor behavior by someone else. I'm just wondering, like, what's your take on it, or how do you feel about it? But it
I'm trying to figure out why
like
you're directly contradicting yourself.
They should hire a task force,
I'm not.
They should hire an independent, nonpartisan legal task force to quickly and effectively go through the entire fucking Epstein files caseload and redact only the names and information of victims, give them identifiers so that you can keep track of them.
Yeah. Uh-oh. Hello?
I think we lost you, Forrest.
I'm still here. Hello?
Can you guys hear me? I can't hear any of you guys.
No. Can the world hear us?
I think.
Are we out there for everybody else?
Now I can hear you guys. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Call in studio.
Now
I think
can
is
hear you.
okay.
Okay. Well,
that's crazy. Maybe your internet hiccuped
I don't know
or
what's
something.
happening. It may be. Everybody on the. I'm seeing this. It says that Forrest is down on the live stream. My call-in studio is still down. Let me see what's going on in the stream.
You both disconnected, so it makes me wonder if it's vMix. There might be a storm coming, so it's possible.
Maybe the wind.
Internet is being flaky.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, let's see. Okay. Let me try to reconnect to call-in studio. I've got John still on the line on my end.
I can see
John.
John.
If you can hear us.
And I can see you're in the screening room, Luthien, but the host is gone. We're just dealing with technical issues, everybody. So sorry.
You are connected as the host. Welcome.
We're connected as the host.
You are now in the host
John,
room
can you hear
and
us?
can manage your callers from the call-in studio web interface. Audio
John,
recording
can you hear
is
us?
on.
I don't want to hang up because it's...
Okay, sorry, John. We're having an issue with our call-in thing.
Yeah, no worries.
Okay. Holy fuck. Yeah, no, sorry.
We're back.
There was some massive hiccup on at least two of our ends. There's probably a storm in this area. This has been for a little while. We were talking about releasing the files, and we were talking about, I'm trying to remember where exactly we were when we were speaking, that Lux said that this is hypocritical to say that Trump should have Biden should have released them, but Trump didn't. And then you asked us what we would rather do, and I said that there should be an independent task force, a nonpartisan independent task force that goes through and redacts the names of only the victims, leaving them with anonymous identifying markers so you can keep track of who they are, and all of that should be released to the public, because what we have seen from the brief glimpses of the Epstein files that we have gotten is that kings, billionaires, presidents, all scientists, CEOs, the greatest people in our society that are holding this place together are all fucking pedophiles. And we have this, we are that close, John, from the fucking Pizzagate scandal being real. That close. And so we've got this massive fucking cabal of billionaire fucking political elites all around the world who have unlimited power. And what do they do with it? They rape children. And we need to expose all of it. And I think the old adage, let the truth ring free, let the truth be known, or sorry, let justice be done even if the heavens fall. That is what I believe in. If this all comes out and people freak the fuck out and drag these assholes into the fucking streets, then that's what happens, because that's what they deserve for what they've done to children. And it will make a beautiful, brighter, better world afterwards. But hopefully we can have a step-by-step process that's actually functional, and have a mass fucking pedophile Nuremberg. But I'm not going to be mad if one of these people gets to be fucking strung up by their fucking Achilles tendons and used like a piñata. That's just fine with me. I don't mind too much. As long as they get it, as long as it's justice. As long as it's justice. As long as they're actually right.
Yeah, I think all I'm trying to say is I think, like, you know, from what I see, nothing was happening under Biden. Something's happening under Trump. Things are happening, right? Things are going on. Things are starting to happen.
And what is happening is that Trump is showing more and more how corrupt he is, and he is protecting himself and the other pedophiles that are implicated in those files. Epstein himself in those files said that Trump is one of the worst people he has ever fucking met, and is the bottom of the barrel scum. And we have on top of that all the allegations made by victims against Trump specifically, including many that are very, very specific. And we have Trump's own history of pedophilic language, like when he talked about his own infant daughter and other young girls that he has met and spied on while naked.
Yeah, that's a crazy statement. Yeah, Trump's definitely into some weird shit. He's definitely a weird dude with some weird rhetoric. I don't think it's extreme, but I do think he's a weird guy. I do think he's a good president, though.
You don't think it's extreme? You don't think it's extreme to say that you hope your infant daughter grows up to have your mother's big tits? You don't think that's an extreme thing to say?
Is that verbatim?
Yes. He was talking about Ivanka when she was born, and he said that I hope she gets things from her mother, especially her chest. He also said when she was a young teenager that if they weren't related, he would probably date her.
Yeah, that's weird. That's wild.
Yeah, it's real weird. He also said on Howard Stern that he also said on Howard Stern that one of the cool parts about running the beauty pageants that he runs is that he gets to walk backstage whenever he wants and see these women changing without their consent because he's the owner, including teenage girls. And they just have these most incredible bodies, and he gets to do it because he owns a pageant.
Why do you think he would say something like that?
Because he was because he was a very rich man in the 90s, and you could say whatever the fuck you wanted. That's why he was comfortable saying he just grabs women by the pussy when he wants to. He knew nothing was going to happen to him because he lives in a rape culture, and he is an extremely rich man. He was absolutely correct when he said on that bus, on the Access Hollywood tape, when he said, when you're a star, they'll let you do it. You can just walk up and grab them by the pussy, just start kissing, they'll let you do it. He was absolutely correct because he knew he got away with it. People let him do it because if they called him out, he would sue them into oblivion. They would never make it out alive.
It's called flaunting your power.
Yes. He's a rapist. He's an adjudicated rapist, and a felon and a pedophile. And you notice he sues people for making fun of him. He sues people for any old little thing because that's how libel and slander cases work. If you can prove that what they're saying isn't technically true, you can sue the fuck out of him. You make all sorts of money. Never sued a single person for calling him a pedophile, has he? Because then they'd have to dig into these files.
Yep.
And you don't want that.
Discovery.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, it seems like your chat is talking about, your chat's really mean. They're hurting my feelings.
They are. They're very mean
They're
people.
talking about...
I don't pay any attention to the chat while we're having a conversation because I'm trying to focus on what you're saying and make sure that we're addressing your arguments and not listening to the chat.
This is my first debate. They're calling me a pedophile. This is crazy. Yeah, but it seems like they are
well, John, could you understand that, like, we keep saying things like we have lots of evidence that Trump, at the very minimum, has very inappropriate thoughts toward young women under the age. Like, and for you, your response is like, ooh, that's weird. But you're not like recanting. Yeah, you're not recanting your support. You're not saying, oh, that's fucked up and he should be arrested or he should be impeached. Like, the fact that you're having this kind of like, ooh, that's a little bit weird response kind of makes it seem like that's not a deal breaker for you. And so you can understand why, like, if pedophilia is not a deal breaker for you supporting a political candidate, why that would make people concerned and maybe upset with you. Does that make sense?
Well, because I believe in proof beyond a reasonable doubt, which is why that civil case is a little, and then also, I think free speech is important. I think that's an important thing. And, if you're saying that, but when it came to Biden, and you're talking about the legal system, I mean, I would bring up the legal system here as well, where if it, if it was 100, I mean, do you think if it was 100% proven beyond, or 100%, but proven beyond a reasonable doubt in court, whatever, that he was a pedophile who was convicted of X, Y, and Z, that I would not want him to be persecuted for that? Do you think that?
I think MAGA would still support him.
Yeah, like, it's very clear. He's been known to be like this sexual predator guy since the 90s. I don't know you personally. So that's what, this is a ripe...
You said I'm a pedophile.
John, well, I'm saying that's what I'm acknowledging that is what the chat is saying, because you don't seem to be taking the position that is like you do not support him anymore and you regret voting for him. Like, if like, you have to answer that question if you want me to know the answer, because I don't know you. If Trump was convicted of pedophilia, would you then be like, he's a piece of shit pedophile and I don't support him and I regret voting for him?
Yes, of course.
Okay. Well, that's good. That makes you better than some other people
of course
who support him.
But you made the claim that I because he wasn't convicted beyond a reasonable doubt of doing anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, like, this is why we want the unredacted, except for the victims, like, we want the Epstein files released, because we want to be able to evaluate for ourselves whether there should be criminal charges brought. And, like, obviously the statute of limitations has expired for some of these crimes. Like, there is a limit to what we can accomplish at this time. But, like, at the very minimum, John, it's a matter of record that one of his divorces was because he violently raped his wife. So, like, why was that not enough? Like, falling short of the pedophilia thing. Why is him being a rapist? And that's the reason why their divorce was approved. He took issue. He and his lawyer took issue with the word rape, but they were like, her accounting of events was accurate, that he ripped out a chunk of her hair and forced himself on her. So, like, if that's not a deal breaker, then, like, I don't know. Well, in a country where rape is often not convicted, where the system is stacked against women and women are portrayed as liars and men get away with this shit all the time, like, I honestly think that your burden of proof is probably too high in terms of, I'm not saying for an arrest and jail time. I'm saying for you to personally evaluate that this person is not fit to be president, who is defiling the office of the presidency by being in it.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. But the only problem is it wasn't proven beyond a reasonable doubt. That's my only issue.
It doesn't. So, like, here's the thing. Do you think that the president should be a good person?
I mean, broadly speaking, yeah. They should be.
Do you think that the president should have as close as we can get to an unimpeachable character where we know this person has a long history of being a good person?
Yeah. Yeah, I would say so. I think that's a good thing. Yeah, I think they should have good morals.
Do you think that the president
they should have good character?
Do you think that the president should be somebody that young people can look up to and emulate?
Yeah, I think that's a good thing. I think they should be a strong leader,
Correct.
you know?
Great.
They should embody
question.
Strength, good family values, all that stuff.
Now, let me ask you, this is a personal question. You don't have to answer if you want to. Do you have children, John?
No, I don't.
Okay. If you did, suppose you had children, or maybe you're an educator or something else, would you want your children to look up to and act like and emulate Trump? Fuck no, right? Fuck no.
Fuck no.
And that's the thing. If I don't have children, and I never will, but I can tell you, if I ever had kids, I would absolutely never, ever, ever let them talk about women the way that Trump ever has, talk about gay people the way Trump ever has, talk about black people the way Trump ever has. If my kid ever acted like Trump, I'd return it and get a new one. Like, there's no way. No way. And so, like, that to me is the biggest thing here. It's exactly what I said to the last caller when he fucking crashed out, is that you, John, are putting all of your morals and your values and your virtues on hold for this guy because whatever reason. You are voting for somebody that you would not support in your day-to-day life, somebody you would not look up to, somebody you would not want your children to look up to, someone you would not at any point want in charge of this country, simply because he says some shit that you like, even though he goes back on his word all the time. He hates a bunch of people that he tells you to hate too, and you have blind loyalty to him. It's one of those three or all three. I don't know you personally, but from every MAGA I've talked to, it's usually all fucking three. So I don't get it, man. That's my biggest thing. We can sit here and agree all day long. Biden sucked and Obama sucked and everybody sucked. But right now we're talking about Trump. And Trump is actively protecting pedophiles, protecting billionaires, fucking over the working class, fucking over his own constituents, bombing children on the other side of the world, supporting foreign governments more than he's supporting his own farmers. He is currently going back on all of his campaign promises and currently bragging about the size of his penis on stage. And you are still supporting him. And I'm just asking you why.
Yeah.
What is the actual breaking point here that you're like, you know what? Fuck it. Sunk cost fallacy out the window. This is no longer worth it for me.
Yo, okay, I'm going to be totally honest with you. Can you hear me still?
Yep, I can.
Okay, perfect. I'm going to be totally honest with you. I don't support Trump. I don't like the guy at all.
Hell yeah.
I'm totally against him. I wanted to, this is the first time I've ever debated. It's just, as you can tell. And I wanted to really challenge myself and try and support someone I really don't like. So it was kind of fucking rough to do that.
So you just called in to lie.
I agree with you. What?
So you just called in to lie.
I mean, no, I called in to play devil's advocate.
Yeah, in this context, you have misrepresented yourself to us. This is something that I will ban you for because it's really disrespectful to us and our platform for you to do that.
Hello?
On the plus side, though, you playing devil's advocate for a pedophile made you sound exactly like a MAGA supporter. They are that fucking dumb. So, Lux, if you want to go ahead and hit that ban button for me, because I don't remember which one it is. Yeah, fuck you, John. What a dickhead.
It pops up as one of the options when you click drop. So
okay, I thought so.
Ban.
I just wanted to make sure. I didn't want to fuck it up. Yeah, I gotta be honest. Like I said, I wasn't joking. I would never have guessed, and I think there's a part of me that suspects he may be lying about that and is actually just embarrassed and is trying to save face. But at the end of the day, somebody just coming up with any reason to support a pedophile and like, no matter what, this is the position I'm going to take. Yeah, that makes you sound like MAGA, because that's what they do. Blind loyalty, no matter fucking what. That's what they all sound like
Poe's law.
Yeah.
You know, you are indistinguishable from an actual MAGA. Listen, if you want to defend something and challenge yourself, defend the idea that Omni-Man is the best superhero, like I did on Jovan's show last week. We had lots of fun. I gotta
watch that show.
And I don't genuinely believe that Omni-Man is the best superhero. I do think that he's on a redemption arc, and I know how it ends in the comics and everything. But like, you know, you could. There's definitely a different way to do that.
That's Invincible, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I have yet to watch it, but I hear it's really good. There's a lot of memes about it.
That's actually why we watched it in the first place, was because season 1 had all these amazing memes, and it turns out it's a really cool show. I bought all the omnibus and some of the side comics as well. It's good shit for sure.
Yeah.
In the chat, do not spoil last night's episode. I still haven't watched it.
I'll also play this really quick, just while because we talked about it a couple of times.
I'll go backstage before a show.
Yes.
And everyone's getting dressed and ready. And I'm allowed to go in because I'm the owner of the pageant, and therefore I'm inspecting it. Is everyone okay? You know, they're standing there with no clue. Is everybody okay? And you see these incredible looking women. And so I sort of get away with things like that.
Today, a former Miss Arizona.
Yup. Like, oh, it turns out it's really hard to defend this. Yeah, because it's indefensible. That's why. You know?
Would you support a president who brags about walking in on women in their changing rooms without their consent?
Yeah.
Whether or not, the allegation here is there is also teenagers in those pageants, but take that out. Take it out. Do you support the creep walking back in the changing rooms, looking under the stalls, trying to peep on naked girls?
Yeah.
Do you vote for that guy?
If you think that caller made you look bad, and you found out right at the end that he doesn't even believe any of those things, if you think he made you look bad, we are still taking calls. We're going to be here for another hour. The number is on the screen, 336-543-2101. You know, we have a call screener who's going to take your information, and then we'll get you in the queue. And if you have a disagreement with us, that gives you priority in the queue. We will talk to you first if you have some kind of disagreement with us. So we're still here. We're talking to MAGA. We're both leftists. We're both socialists. If you want to tell us how socialism is bad or wrong, or how capitalism is good and the best system, we don't really like to take progressive and leftist calls on this show. That's not really what it's for. So if you are a leftist, maybe skip it this time. We're really here to have those conversations. I'm trans. If you want to talk about how trans people shouldn't be using public restrooms, or how, it shouldn't be taught to children, or that children shouldn't access gender-affirming care, we are here and ready to throw down about those topics. Forrest is a biologist. He's into developmental biology, so he can also make some of those arguments if you want to be like, well, there's a biological advantage, da-da-da. Did you say a thing?
I'm not into developmental biology. I don't know what you mean. That's pageant. I've covered it. I'm actually adding, so I just realized that clip was actually 2 clips. The first one was his thing, and the second one was this news thing.
Today, a former Miss Arizona, who calls herself a conservative, going public in an interview with KCBS, describing what she says happened backstage with Trump at a Miss USA pageant.
Our first introduction to him was when we were at the dress rehearsal and half naked, changing into our bikinis.
Tasha Dixon detailing her discomfort.
To have the owner come waltzing in when we're naked or half naked in a very physically vulnerable position, and then to have the pressure of the the people that work for him telling us to go fawn all over him, go walk up to him, talk to him, get his attention.
She describes feeling helpless.
Who do you complain to? He owns the pageant. So there's no one to complain to. Everyone there works for him.
Bad.
That's
I did
the
not
second
know that
part of that clip. Yeah. So this isn't just him implicating himself. There's witness testimony of this as well, of people saying hey, yeah, not only did we do that, he made us fucking go kiss up to him at the same time, and he had his cronies corralling us. That's who this fucking guy is. That's who you all support. That's who you are still voting for. I'm gonna make a soundboard. I added those 2 clips just now while we were sitting here, but I'm going to make a whole soundboard of Trump being a fucking creep for the next time I do these shows. Just every time we talk to somebody, we can play the little clips of him talking, when he tells that 10-year-old girl, I'm going to be dating her in 10 years. You know that? Like, we'll just get a whole fucking soundboard together. It'll be great.
Yeah.
Anyway, we've got one call left on the line right now. We've had several people call in and drop over and over, so we'll leave the lines open for now. We have one person who's been waiting about an hour and 48 minutes who is on the left and wants to talk about language and class struggle and stuff. So we'll take this person really quick, and if another person calls in, we'll take them as well. But this person's been waiting for a long time, so we'll start with them. Lyla, pronouns she and her, who wants to talk to us about the language of the left. Hello, how are you?
Hi. I'm doing well. How are you guys?
I'm all right.
Doing okay.
Oh, never had a bad day. All right. So I read an essay in the Hampton Reader, 2025. You can look it up, and it proposes how to change your language from the neoliberal capitalist language that we've been taught. We need to regress into back when we were child, we didn't have that type of language. It was taught to us. And so now we need to unlearn that language. And I feel it's like targeting better ways of identifying classes and class traders. You know, when we're talking about the Democrats, we say the capitalist Democrats, the fascist Republicans, putting in that extra emphasis on it. And you guys do that sometimes, and I really like it. It's just like really developing why these people say that and getting them to understand what a class trader is, and they may go into that type of language to help persuade them out of being fascist followers, because that's what they are. They support MAGA. That's just a fascist movement, like the brown shirts, I think they were called, right?
Yep.
So I leave this entirely up to you, Lux. I'm doing this thing for a second.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, it's basically about class consciousness and helping these workers identify that and talking about that. You know.
So I just want to try to understand, based on like your commentary and what we have in the queue here, that
yeah,
it's like, is it you're saying basically this essay was suggesting that it's better, instead of calling people fascist, to call them class traders. Like if I was criticizing a cop, instead of being like, you fascist pig, being like, you're a class trader, is that like the argument is that that's a more effective form of rhetoric?
I think so. I think it's just better identifying them that way. The workers are just propagandized into this capitalist thing. You know, they persuade people to join the military because of all the benefits and everything like that. Like they could be police is different. You know, some are, you know, on the left or whatever, but they don't understand what they're doing when they're protecting capital, and they think that they're helping people, and they're not. And identifying that type of language when you talk about police and property and capitalists, you know, and that's who they're protecting, and trying to make them see that when you talk about like the police, and hopefully when the police hear that they're being called class traders, they think about it. You know, that's putting that new information into them. Instead of fascist pig, it doesn't mean anything like that. But class trader actually means something, and it can bring class consciousness in. It can create that cognitive dissonance, I think. You know?
Yeah. I mean, I would be really curious if there was any sociological research on like the efficacy of different persuasive tactics, because I feel like we are constantly bashing our heads against this problem. Like Arden and I have had conversations behind the scenes where we're like, are we hurting the not hurting the movement, but like, are we helping our movement by arguing from the facts on trans issues? Like, you know, we are arguing from the studies, and, you know, we feel like if we just use the right information and the right facts and the, you know, accurate language, that is what's going to be persuasive. But we often find that the opposition is just like, well, I have my facts. What about the cast review? And like, oh, what about this and that? And like, they have a tendency to like cherry pick stuff and to make it seem like their studies are equivalent to our studies, when it like they weren't convinced by the studies in the first place. they had an idea in their head and they went and looked for studies that would affirm their position. So it's like, are we making much ground in personally arguing with a person? My view on this has been for years, like since way back in the days when I was watching Matt Dillahunty on AXP, 15 years ago, that it's not even really about the person you're talking to. It's about the people around them. And honestly, I think to a cop or to most people, class traitor is more meaningless than fascist pig, right? At least when you're calling them a fascist, you'll have some people who are like, yeah, you fucking pig. Like, there is at least some class solidarity with that. Whereas I do agree that there is like an intellectual and academic approach where referring to someone as a class traitor, and obviously I personally find that insult very vindicating. Like it's like cussing in the way that it like activates part of your brain, like you fucking class traitor. Like obviously that's meaningful to me, but I don't know if that's meaningful to anyone else. And when it comes down to it, it's still name calling, right? So if we're trying to get someone to listen to us, calling them anything that could be derogatory, and even if they don't understand that class traitor is derogatory or is like addressing a specific thing, calling them a traitor, they are definitely going to perceive that as derogatory and insulting, and they're going to become defensive. So like, I don't actually know if between calling someone a fascist or calling someone a class traitor, if there is any approach that's confrontational like that, that's going to achieve any kind of like progress in conversation. Debate is for the people around you, or like that type of rhetoric is for the audience more than it is for the person that you're talking to.
Right. And then think about what fascist pig means and class traitor means. They're actually two different things. Class traitor brings in the class consciousness. Fascist pig just fights capitalism at its most extreme. I say class traitor as more of a means of awakening that class struggle. And it is derogatory, so it's fascist pig. But they're two different things when you're calling them, right? The class traitor activates class consciousness. Fascist pig does not. Do you see the difference between the two?
I mean, I guess if you don't view the fascist class as a class, like that it tends to be the ruling class, like
they're the capitalist class. That's why I want to say like capitalist Republicans, especially capitalist Democrats, because they say left all the time. Left is meaningless now. So remove yourself from that neoliberal language of that type of stuff. We just need to come up with new language. I bring class traitor in because it's not well used. It has a lot of meaning to it. And just talking about class is the best part of bringing this all in. Like trans issues is like, who told you that? It's a lot of that hate is learned and it needs to be unlearned. And I think that language needs to change to help them unlearn. We're never going to convince usually people on the phone to change it. And it is for the audience. Totally agree. That's why I think class traitor is so powerful, because it's just identifying. And I want to say that we are all class traitors, myself included, because we live in this capitalist society. We need class consciousness, and it was destroyed in the 60s and 50s with the McCarthy era and all the rhetoric, all the propaganda. And that's neoliberal propaganda that we're trying to fight, and we're using their language to fight it. We need to change our language, regress it into something more meaningful and better. That's pretty much what I got out of this Hampton thing. You can look it up, Hampton Reader 2025. It's chapter 11. It's called Speaking Like Children, Linguistic Exodus from Capitalist Subject Formation. It's pretty philosophical, so you need to know a little bit about what the terms that he uses in here. But it's very provocative. It's just a way to think for yourself, how can I change my language out of what I have? That's pretty much what the essay was going for. And I think it's powerful. And I think it creates more consciousness for people to think about that. People don't really think about what class is anymore. And you guys bring it up so much. I not so much, but I want you to bring it up so much more. I love the show. I think the debate works. I think
I don't disagree with you in premise. Like, so I won't. I don't necessarily. I'm not going to necessarily be like
police language either.
Yeah. I just want to share like what my perspective is on this right now. That like I'm probably not necessarily going to incorporate class traitor as much, but like I am, actively having conversations with conservatives in my community, and I am trying to raise them to a level of class consciousness by, being like, okay, this issue is a distraction while they pick your pockets, and I'm trying to redirect attention toward, the billionaire class, and like, why are you struggling financially? And like, when people are like, oh, it's not, anybody else's fault that your budget is bad. And it's like, okay, well, here's this chart that shows that productivity has gone up by like 250% and wages are stagnant. Like, there's, a slight increase in wages. But so to be fair, like I am agreeing with you that it's good to try to bring more class consciousness to the conversation, to try to promote this idea that, we don't need to be quibbling over trans people or whatever. I mean, I do think that we should still be addressing, trans rights and everything.
Always address people that are getting oppressed. And that's, that class needs to be behind that too.
But pointing out that is a distraction.
Chapter on that.
You're yelling about trans athletes or whatever, and you're talking about one student athlete in an entire state, while, prices are rising and taxes are still high and our services are shit. Like, nothing like paying taxes to a government that won't provide you with services and is actively cutting off SNAP benefits, which disproportionately harms Republicans. So I don't disagree with you in premise, Lyla. I think it's an interesting topic, and I do think, class consciousness is good to promote as we continue having these conversations.
Yeah, exactly. That's just what I wanted to talk about. And I'm a super ally of you guys, and I'm glad that you took my call. It's very hard on the left to get in to talk. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I appreciate your call, Lyla, and I'm sure we'll talk to you again sometime.
Yeah, bye.
Bye. Listen, we have one caller in the queue, but we have like 40 minutes left of this show. And I don't even know if we're going to read super chats. We sometimes kind of glance over the super chats and see the cool ones. But we will have time for like probably at least 2 more calls. So, we have one waiting right now, but if your call seems more spicy than that one, then we will take you first, because that's what we're here for. We're here to have some disagreements. We want to hash it out. We want to have the discussions. The number's on the screen, 336-543-2101. Super easy to remember. And by the way, if y'all are just here enjoying and hanging out, don't forget to hit the like button. There's a good number of you who have not hit the like button. If you're on mobile, just double tap your screen. Just basically touch the screen as many times as you can. That helps the algorithm. It pushes us out to more people, and it could get us some very interesting calls right here at the end of the show. If you click the share button and then the copy button, it basically tells YouTube that you have shared the link. I mean, I would love it if you would paste it onto your socials, but you don't have to as far as YouTube is concerned. So 336-543-2101. If you are MAGA and you have some problem with us, if you're transphobic or like you just don't like trans people or you think it's gone too far, we're here to talk about that. I haven't taken an abortion call in a while. If you want to talk about abortion, I'm ready to throw down about that. I have some really good, I believe, counter arguments to the pro-life movement. And, we're still going to be here for, like I said, like about 40 more minutes before we then send you over to The Line Has a Podcast. Did you know The Line Has a Podcast? They're going to be recording it live. It's not a call-in show. It's just a newsy chit-chat show. And listen, we appreciate your super chats, but if you want to see The Line grow into something bigger, if you're interested in the idea of an in-person convention where you would get to see a bunch of hosts from The Line give talks and do panels and, meet and greets and stuff like that, then support us on Patreon, patreon.com/calltheline. We have multiple different tiers. There's some secret-y stuff that you can get over there. $5 or more, you can see all of our previous LineCon presentations, which is like the hosts give a 20-minute presentation. And if you join for $15, that's basically a ticket to our monthly LineCon event where 3 of our hosts give a 20-minute talk, and then there's an hour Q&A afterwards. So check us out on Patreon. That is the best way to support The Line overall, although we appreciate everybody if you're liking, subscribing, super chats, Patreon, all that stuff is helpful to us. We very much appreciate it. And like I said, I think we need at least one more caller. But if we end up going with this call and we don't have another one, we'll just stick around and read super chats at the end.
While speaking of dicking around, while you were taking that other call, I also was doing this. I got this clip.
You wouldn't believe how bad these people are. These aren't people. These are animals.
And I got this clip.
The 22-year-old nursing student in Georgia who was barbarically murdered by an illegal alien animal. The Democrats say, please don't call them animals. They're humans. I said, no, they're not humans. They're not humans. They're animals. Nancy Pelosi told me that. She said, please don't use the word animal, sir, when you're talking about these people. I said, I'll use the word animal because that's what they are.
And then you wonder how we end up with fucking concentration camps. And if we end up with any MAGA who really want to, talk about what a good and honest person he is. I also have this clip that I tried to take most of the noise out of. Quiet. Got that one for fun,
Quiet Piggy, yeah.
Yeah.
Very classy.
Yeah, I've got Premiere over here and I've got Audition over here to try to strip the background noise out of things and make things sound good. But just have these on hand now. I'm gonna like I said, I'm gonna build a whole fucking soundboard. I swear to God, I'm gonna build a whole soundboard of just god awful things that Trump has said and done, and just keep them all in this audio files. And next time I get a MAGA caller, we'll just go through them. Let's go through them one at a time. Is this okay? Is this okay? Is this okay?
Yeah.
Is this okay? Ugh. Anyway, we got like Lux said, we've got one call left. I don't know. I was listening to everything you were saying. Totally, I wasn't distracted at all. So I got most of it.
If we take this call and it's a 15 to 20 minute call, then we'll just dick around and do super chats for the rest of it.
I'm always down for dicking around. Let's talk now to Jordan, calling in from right here in the great state of Oklahoma, who wants to talk about capitalism and socialism. Jordan, you are possibly our last caller of the day. You're on with Forrest and Lux. How you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are y'all?
I'm okay.
Getting tired.
Yeah, that happens after a few hours of streaming.
I've been on since 12, or I guess 2 Central, so yeah, it's been a while.
I pretty much woke up to do this show, and my wife brought me toast while we were here streaming. That's great. Fuck yeah, toast. What can we do for you, Jordan?
So I heard y'all talking about how y'all were socialists, and I would like to debate that. And keep in mind, I am open-minded. If y'all convince me that socialism is better than capitalism, I will go with you, but yeah.
Hell yeah.
Sure. We'll lay it on us with your argument for capitalism or against socialism, whichever way you want to take it.
My argument against socialism and for capitalism is basically like, I believe that for the economy to grow, money should flow from individuals to another individual or another group of individuals, like a corporation, and the government should not be involved with it, because I believe that the more the government is involved with it, the harder it is for people to trust what the economy is doing and how it will act.
What does the economy growing mean to you, and why is it a good thing?
The economy growing, to me, means that more people can participate in it and buy the things they need, get the help they need to support their household. And I believe it's a good thing, because if the economy grows in the way that I described, that means that more people can get the things they need to them quicker.
So if we reach a point in our economy where everybody has that, do we accept then that the economy doesn't need to grow anymore?
No, because there are always going to be people who are greedy, people who are going to try to hoard money. And of course, no system is perfect. I try to keep this in mind all the time. No system is absolutely perfect. But I believe if we get to a point where everybody's needs are satiated enough that there's no need for the economy to grow anymore, that there's still room to improve in ways through how we tax the rich or how we deal with foreign economy policies. and just things like that.
Can I just ask, because I seem, maybe I'm misunderstanding. You said that the economy growing, the way that you would describe the economy growing, is to say that it is when more and more and more people get the opportunity to participate in life and get the resources they need to survive and thrive. So, like, lifting people out of poverty, making sure more people have a good education, more people have a good income, make sure more people have good housing, more people less and less people are worried about their bills, less people are worried about getting sick, less people are worried about, going hungry. That is what it means to have the economy grow. Is that a fair representation of what you said?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. So another thing you said a minute ago was that you think that basically the less the government is involved in this, the better, for lack of a better word. Is that like kind of a summary of what you were talking about?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. So what if we were hypothetically to have a situation, and this is not what I believe in, okay? This is not what I'm advocating for at this moment. I'm just giving you a hypothetical. What if we said the government is actually super involved and every single person gets a universal basic income and nobody can make money past a certain point, so there is no more wealth hoarding, and everybody is guaranteed food, shelter, medicine, education, all of that is forced by the government to be at a very high level. And so there is no more commerce necessary. Like, people can still buy and sell things, but there's no need for that to make a living. You are guaranteed a living. You are guaranteed to be at a point where nobody at all is possible to go in poverty and to go hungry. Would you say that that is a maximally grown economy or damn close to it, even if it's not a way that you like?
Yes, I believe so.
Right. So that is very close. The only thing that I disagree with about all of that is having a thing where the what I kind of described is a little bit closer to the what's the term? The dictatorship of the proletariat kind of thing, which I'm not super down with. But what I'm describing to you, by and large, is the socialist vision, insofar as everybody still gets to have a job if they want to do whatever they want. You can start a business, you can sell, you can do whatever. But the money doesn't go all just up to these super rich billionaires. Instead, the money is taxed appropriately across the board and reinvested into communities, especially social programs and social services, to make sure that every community has the same quality education, infrastructure, healthcare, housing, everything, and it's all at a standard that is higher than the global average. That's what we're going for as socialists.
Okay, I see the vision now. Yeah, I can see how that would be good, but I don't know. It's like, no, you kind of just debunked my whole argument.
Yeah, I would just add that, like, the socialist position is that the economy should serve the interests of as many people as possible, like to raise up the quality of life for as many people as possible. And the capitalist mode is basically about profit being above all else, that profit is the most important thing, and that we will sacrifice other things, including people's well-being, in order to preserve the system where a few people own most of the stuff and they can decide whether or not you earn enough money to make a decent living, and that they can put politicians in their pocket and influence the laws that are supposed to be protecting the workers and supposed to be protecting the interests of the labor class, in order to just like gradually gut that. So yeah, what we advocate for is basically a system that prioritizes the well-being of people, which I think you at least morally agree with.
Right.
Yeah. I think I agree with socialism. I just didn't know the name for it. I thought it was capitalism.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. When people talk about socialism, usually it's when government does things that aren't war, and it's like that's kind of all it is. And people talk about socialism as like what I talked about is that super extreme case of forcing everyone to have exactly the same. That's not really what that is, and that's not really what we're going for. The actual definition of the term is simply that the workers own the means of production. So as of right now, we have a capitalist that owns means of production, and they get all the money out of it, and they pay you a fraction of what your labor is worth, and they keep the rest. What we're talking about is the workers owning the means of production, and we can go through a few different reasons why that's immediately beneficial. Think about some of the problems with capitalism, and then try to make it make sense in a socialist system where the workers own the factory, the workers own the company, the workers decide what the company does and how it works. No way in fuck are all the workers going to get together and vote to send their jobs overseas and to lower their wages and to give the upper management a big Christmas bonus and fuck over and lay off half the company. They're not voting for that shit. It's not going to happen. They're not going to vote to install a data center in their town to pollute their water. They're not going to vote to destroy or deforest a whole area to build a bunch of fucking rich mansions. They're not going to do that. And so by putting this back in the power of the people, you're deconstructing the capitalist system, which is inherently anti-democratic. In democracy, everybody gets one vote. Everybody's voice is equal. We all work together for what we believe in. In capitalism, the person on the top says what goes. If you buy shares, you get more votes than the people who don't buy shares. And if you don't like it, you can starve on the street. So, like, that's what we're trying to get to here, man. And I know you've already said, all right, cool. I'm not trying to preach at you. I'm just saying there's a lot more to it than just what we described. And I think that you should look into it more. I think you'll like it a lot.
Okay. One gripe I have with that, it sounds amazing. Don't get me wrong. All of it sounds amazing. Mm-hmm. I do find one problem with, like, what happens when the company that the workers own grows too big, or there aren't enough jobs within the company for all the workers to have a job.
Well, I mean, you wouldn't vote to expand beyond your means if the workers are working together on this. It's just to say that, like, in a socialist economy, you could actually have good corporate competition. You could have people working at two different companies to try to make a better product. Here in capitalism, you have a company that owns both of those companies and they pretend to hate each other. So, like, as far as, like, growing to the point where we wouldn't have jobs anymore, diversify the jobs, niche partitioning. That's the whole jam. It's just not putting all of the power in the hands of a greedy few. It's making sure that everybody's needs are met and everybody's standard of living is raised because everybody is made more equal. And this is where it comes into, this is where also we go off on a tangent a little bit for me specifically, because I blend this into a different branch. It's called social anarchism, which is really fundamentally the belief that liberty and equality are intrinsically intertwined, and you can't have one without the other, and if one's hurt, the other one's hurt. So what I'm talking about here is the same thing, that the more we raise up that floor, the more free we become and the more capable we are to do bigger and better things. So I think that's a self-correcting problem. It's not really an issue at all. But again, can't stress enough, that is just me, and that's my spin on that. I'm taking way outside of theory as well. And this is, someone in the chat is also asking, like, you know, I described the dictatorship of the proletariat and why I'm not with that. That's because I'm not a Marxist in that way. That's a whole different vibe. What I'm describing is just my flavor of utopia, you know?
Yeah.
And not even the whole thing at that.
Yes. Yeah, I definitely see the vision.
Right on, man.
And
anyway, I'm sorry to talk your ear off. I get excited about this stuff.
No, you're good. Like I said, I got an open mind and open heart.
Yeah, I love that.
And I think part of it too is that people are not clear on what the words mean. You know, socialism is portrayed as this scary thing, and people talk about it in a way that makes it seem bad because they don't know what words mean. And it's like, I understand, and I'm glad that you're, like, receiving it, though. It's like, you know, from a socialist explaining, here's what the socialist vision is. At least you're not like, nah, you know, like, you know, it would be pointless to do that.
That's not what you believe.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
That's not what you, precisely. So, well, cool, Jordan. I mean, if that kind of, you know, I'm sure that you'll think on it a little bit. And if you want to have further conversations in the future, we might be available depending. If you go too far left, you know, we don't usually take many leftist calls on here because we're trying to have the debates and the conversations. But we encourage you, you know, continue participating in the community and, you know, enjoy.
All Ask good
right,
questions. You already started asking great questions.
Yep.
All right. Take care, Jordan. Bye-bye.
Later. See ya.
Yep.
Sounds good,
Bye.
man. Later. Yeah, the dictatorship of the proletariat for those. Oh, no, I'm lagging. That's good. I don't know if I'm lagging on your end, but no, both you and I just moved really fast. Now we're good again.
Yeah.
Dictatorship of the proletariat, for those who don't know, it's not literal dictatorship. It's an outdated term used by Marx and Engels that doesn't have the same meaning that it has today. But it was just saying that, like, the proletariat take power after whatever the revolution may look like, and then they stop the bourgeoisie from enacting and forcing their rules to, like, force things into place. So it's not literally dictatorship, like fascist, blah, 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 but it is absolutely, sort of like oligarchic in that way, and it's a little bit less democracy than I like. I just don't like the power play. It's that same Nietzsche quote that I talked about earlier. I think that it's dangerous to go that way. But that's just my take on it. That's just my spin, yo. And this is also all talking in a purely theoretical framework and not looking at the historical context, where socialism is the evolutionary framework and communism is the revolutionary framework. And that's where you get fucking tankies and shit that are out here talking about how we need to fucking rise up with guns and murder everybody who's against our cause. And then you have then you do have the goddamn day. Then you have the straw man that the right likes to talk about, how the socialists are going to march through the streets and kill everybody. That's where you get that direction. So don't go that direct. Don't be a tanky. But like, it's weird. And these are it's just like capitalism, It's not just a single animal. It is a complex and nuanced thing. It's a sliding scale. There's a lot to it. And we can sit here and debate it all day long. And to bring it back to the other conversation a little while ago, if we sit here and fight about it, I host with Jovan Bradley, who's a communist, and I'm a social anarchist. And I don't know what the fuck Lux is. You're just here.
It's like, okay, are we allowed to call ourselves by our actual what we want the end state to be? Because I feel like so often I'm talking to people who are leftists who are like, yeah, I won't describe myself as a communist because it's not realistic. And I'm like, what the fuck are these words for? So it's like, yes, I'm a socialist in an incrementalist sense that, like, we should use the central government that we have currently to support the needs of the people. I'm also a communist because I think that it's inevitable that the global economy is going to collapse because of the stresses that climate change puts on it. And that living in a local sense and supporting your local community and living in a democratic way where everybody shares the responsibilities and rights is going to be a good thing. And that structure is fundamentally anarchist. So I guess an anarcho-communist, because the idea of living in a commune means that there is no unjustified hierarchy, that for to everyone, their needs be met, like whatever the fucking Marxist phrase is, to each according to his need and from each according to his ability. Like, yeah, I guess like anarchist, anarcho-communist, something along those lines.
Right. And even then, if you go back to the classical definition here, communism is a moneyless, classless, stateless society. It is the definition of anarchism.
Yes.
But it is only also that particular kind, because there's also the different anarchist flavors where you're just talking about, there's still a structured society. It's just impaired, and this is the one that I like, that every single form of every single system and everything that we can call a government has to be constantly justifying its existence all the time. And like, you have way more direct action and way more direct democracy. And like, so all of these things are fuzzy. And if you're going back to that time period, socialism was just supposed to be the bridge to communism anyway. And so if I'm an anarcho-socialist, what's the difference between that and fucking classical communism? And so you get into this weird shit. I'm not a philosopher. I'm not a political theorist. I'm using the words as best I can, but I try not to use them too detailed in this way because I don't want to get into the argument of, well, I'm a communist and I'm a socialist and I'm a this kind of thing and that.
I'm a leftist. I avoid all. Just like I call myself non-binary and don't get much more specific than that. Like, listen, we can talk about policies if we want to talk about policies and specifics.
It's like, what's that meme of fucking, wasn't it like whatever that right-wing grifter podcaster got on with Trevor Noah, and she's like, I'm a conservative, we don't use labels. It's like, you know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, kind of thing. And it's like, that's exactly, I'm just a leftist anarcho-socialist. I don't label myself like this. Yeah, okay,
exactly.
Sure, why not? Yeah. Totally. I understand entirely how fucking stupid it sounds. I'm just trying to make things better. And I know capitalism sucks sweaty eggs, dude. That's all I got for you. That's all I got. Anyway, so we got the last call in, and boy, is it fucking stupid. we got Tim, who calls in all the time and always has the dog shittiest of takes. And in this one, it's no exception. Tim, today, this is what it says on the call screen, y'all. I swear to fuck, I'm not making this up. I would show you if it wouldn't show his phone number, too. It says, psychology is not real medicine or science, and if someone can be the opposite sex, then they can be a different race. So literally every line of that is wrong and doesn't make any fucking sense, but we expect nothing more from Tim. Tim, you're on with Forrest and Lux. How you doing today?
I'm doing fine.
Awesome.
So,
real,
more so,
just a million first of all.
More so, I was talking about psychiatry and psychiatric diagnoses rather than psychology.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Cool. So you don't think psychiatry is real medicine? Neat. Do you have any training at all anywhere even close to psychiatry or psychology?
The replicability is so much lower than real medicine.
Not what I asked you. I asked, do you have any training in this area?
Do you have any training in half the things that you reject?
So I do study them. If I'm going to reject them, I at least want to know what they're talking about. Some things that I reject aren't trainable. But like, for example, when I was studying anthropology and was training in that, I did learn a lot about race realism and why that is pseudoscience. So I can now articulate it properly because I have training in that area.
So you have training in you have a political science or something related to politics?
A little bit, yeah. I took a few undergrad classes in political science as well, yeah.
Okay, I've taken a psychology course.
Okay, great. That's all I'm curious about, is have you done any measure of study in this whatsoever? So you've taken a psychology course in an undergrad level, and now you're saying that psychiatry, the applied field, isn't real medicine. And then you're going on to say some things about being trans, to say, well, you can be a different sex, not a different race, which demonstrates that you don't actually know what being trans is, which means you weren't paying attention when you were studying psychology.
If you say so. But why do you think that the replicability of psychiatry is so much lower than real medicine?
So there was a replicability crisis a little while ago, mainly because a lot of the studies that were done on university students because they were nearby, which isn't a great sample of the actual population. However, I'm not a psychologist. I just know that that's something that real psychologists who care about this shit have been trying to fix for a little while. And I also know that modern psychiatry is still evidence-based and held up to best practice standards. And so, like, it's not my area of expertise. I'm more interested in the fact that you're calling in to say that, and then your follow-up point here is about trans people, which is something that's interesting in psychology and psychiatry, as well as biology and biomedical sciences and anthropology and sociology as well. And you're saying something that is patently just... It's like saying evolution isn't true because rocks can't give birth to fish. Like, it's that level of just totally ridiculous and has nothing to do with the real topic.
Well,
while saying that that is your evidence that this isn't real.
Who are you to say otherwise, that someone can't feel like they're a different race and be that race?
Because race doesn't work that way. Race is not a real thing. No, because the academic consensus is that race is not a biological system. Race is a social construct. And definitionally, because of what race is determined by external factors that are viewed and judged by other people. Race doesn't exist without social construct, or without society around it. Sex and gender, on the other hand, are different, because while gender is also a social construct, that doesn't mean it works the same way as the social construct of race. And it is also internal, not external. So it's like saying, both my boots and my wallet are made of leather, so I should be putting my money in my shoes and my feet in my wallet. No, that doesn't make any sense. Just because the two things are kind of similar doesn't mean they work the same way.
Forrest, if someone looks at your DNA, will they be able to tell that you're of European descent?
Yes, but that is ethnicity, not race.
Yes, they will. Okay, so you're just splitting hairs. You know, the word ethnicity was popularized after World War II because, like, race became a no-no word.
And did you know that race back in the 1800s used to be the same thing as species, but then it gained a different meaning as we moved on? That's how words work, Tim. So, yeah, race, ethnicity, nationality, and culture are all different things with different meanings, and we use them appropriately in science because we care about the truth. Can you give me a brief rundown of the differences between race, nationality, and ethnicity? Could you just tell me what those different words mean so we can make sure we're using them appropriately?
Well, there's a lot of overlap between ethnicity and race. So you can't even draw a fine line there.
You can.
You can draw a fine line?
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me what the fine line between race and ethnicity is.
Sure. Ethnicity is referring to like cultures and people groups, which are things that are contained within races. Races are just broad, sweeping, ever-changing categories made up by people originally to establish a social hierarchy, and now just for like broad categorization of people, generally based on stupid things like skin color or like general region of like origin. But within races, you would have a ton of individual nationalities that someone outside of those nationalities, or pardon me, ethnicities, pardon me, not nationalities. You would have a ton of different ethnicities within so-called races that someone outside of those races likely wouldn't be able to recognize as differences. So those are where you actually get like cultural differences and whatnot. And that's different than nationalities, which is literally just country of origin or country of current citizenship or residency or whatever like that. So even more scientifically meaningless in that case.
Like, for example, like somebody who's from like Eastern Europe, like those people have like a shared ethnicity. And then there's like Mediterranean people who have a shared ethnicity. And there's like Anglo-Saxons who have a shared ethnicity. And they're all considered white. And that is the racial group.
Right. It's like saying that like in Rwanda, we have the Hutu and the Tutsi, right? Those are two ethnic groups in Rwanda. You, looking at them, would just call them both black because that is their racial category, but that is such a major difference ethnically that they had a whole fucking genocide in the 90s. And so, like, that's what that means.
So all that I'm seeing then is ethnicity is just more specific, like a country like France, like, I mean,
nope.
The historical...
You blew it again, Tim. That's
Aboriginal.
Nationality. That's nationality,
No,
which
I'm
I
talking
made
about
that same mistake a second ago. So,
groups.
right, so that would be probably closer to an ethnic group rather than a racial group. Most people would just call Aboriginal people black, but there's other people that would split hairs on that and say that that's actually something different, which is a very valid racial categorization system because, again, races aren't real in that sense. That it is a completely social category.
But however, we would know that both Hutus and Tutsis are closely related and fall under like a Bantu West African or African sub-Saharan African category. Like they are related genetically, very close.
That's in East Africa. And also, and here's the thing, what's important to point out as well is that yes, Bantu, they are related because pick any black Africans, they are more closely related than literally any two non-African people from anywhere in the world at all. But that's neither here nor there. The point is that there's a major difference here. Race, as a social construct, is a rough, broad categorization system for humans that is completely unscientifically founded and has changed a lot over the years. Great example of that is whiteness. The concept... Oh, excuse me, I'm real burpy right now because I've been eating toast because my beautiful fucking wife brought me toast. The concept of whiteness is entirely based and rooted in white supremacist ideology. And that isn't true for any of these other categorization systems. That doesn't make sense in a scientific system. So yes, we can use genetics to determine it's not true. I can demonstrate how it's true if you'd like.
No.
Whiteness is the only one that's rooted in white supremacy because whiteness is the only one that we categorize based on purity. Whiteness is the only one that we categorize based on exclusion.
Okay, so when Muslims went to Africa and they said kind of what you would consider racist things about black people before white people really had any major interactions with Africans, were they racist?
Muslim isn't a race, Tim, just to be very clear.
Okay, when Arabic MENA people.
Sure, so a bunch of Arab folks go into Africa and they say negative things about Africans. Are they criticizing them based on their culture? Or are they making a broad sweeping statement saying anybody who looks like this and is of this skin color is automatically having some deficiency and I am superior to them by nature of my birth? Because then yes, that would be racist, before the concept of race was, as we have it today, is formalized, because bigotry doesn't know a time period.
The idea
we're just talking
race,
about modern systems.
The idea of race serves to erase the idea of ethnicity. Like that I, as a white person raised in America, I have no fucking idea what my ethnicity is unless I sell my data to some company and have them give me a genetic makeup. Like that is like the function of race as a category, is to eliminate those differences so that it's like much more easy to divide people. Like, Forrest was saying, we exclude people from the category of white, and we create segregated categories and, like, again, erase all differences between any different African ethnicities or even Caribbean Black people. There's people who are Black who are not from Africa. And like, yeah, it basically serves to just take something that's like complicated and flatten it into something that is more easily packaged so that you can create a clear in-group, out-group.
It's literally the definition of a stereotype.
Yeah.
So when Ibn Khaldun said that about black people, he said he dehumanized them, and he said there's something inborn of them that is he said submissive to slavery or something. So is he being racist, or is he being racist?
What time period did he say that in?
The 1300s.
Okay, so that's way earlier. So, yeah, strictly speaking, he is being bigoted. It's tricky to call it racist because that was before the concept of race as we use it today was formally invented. But definitely, that would be grouping people based on a region and a skin color and a a hypodyme that he is established, and then making a broad sweeping category. So, yeah, I think it's fair to call it racist. Is it the most perfectly accurate language? Maybe not. There could be some argument to be made there. But it's a broad thing to just say, generally speaking, grouping people together based on phenotype and then making assumptions about their character is probably a fucking stupid thing to do.
Especially if it's flattening the complexity of their existing cultures and lumping them together, like, inelegantly.
And all of this is to get away from the fact that, like, this whole thing is just to talk about the fact that you're trying to compare race to sex, which isn't even what we're talking about when we're talking about trans people.
So given that white people evolved from black people, why could a white person not have some kind of genes that would make them long to return to that form or something like that? Why would that be ridiculous?
What does that mean?
Like, why could they say, oh, well, I feel like I should have kinky hair because that's what my ancestors did? Why wouldn't they feel that way? Why is that absurd to think?
You can go get your hair curled if you like, Tim. No one's going to stop you. But if you're sitting here saying, I used to be a fish a few 100 million years ago, so I feel like that now, that's not really a thing, nor is it anywhere even close to how being trans works, which is the point of your call. You said that why can't I say I'm a different race if I can say I'm a different sex, which isn't what being trans is in the first place, and also race is a poor categorization system. Another great example is money. Money is also a social system, right? Money is a social construct. And just like race, the conditions of your birth play a lot of factors into that. Unlike race or gender, external factors and internal decisions can also affect your relationship with this construct and how much you have of it and all the different things. So you see, different social constructs work in different ways. They don't all have the same rules just because they're all social constructs. You can't go identify as free from prison just because justice is a social construct, and you can't talk about what region of the world you were born in, therefore you need to go to a different jail if you broke the law because justice is a social construct. Not how it works, Tim. This is just really lazy thinking, which is what we expect.
I did.
You just weren't listening.
You did not give me a good reason. Tell me, you should have a clear reason why you could be transgender but not transracial.
Because being trans and because gender and race are different things, which operate under different frameworks. It's the same reason why it's the same reason, Tim, why a plane and a car are both vehicles, but I don't get to fly a plane because I have a driver's license. They work in different ways, and so I need different rules to associate with them in these ways. Similarly, gender, race, money, and justice are all social constructs. They don't work in the same ways, either the way you're born, the way you identify, the way you interact with them, the way other people interact with them. All of these are very different across all of these social constructs, Tim. I understand it's difficult because it does take a little bit of abstract thought, but I'm confident that you can get there if you try.
You need to be able to point out the reason why. You're just saying they're different, but you're not saying what difference actually causes one to be acceptable.
Actually, I already did a minute ago, Tim. I did at the beginning of this dumbass conversation. You just weren't paying attention. So I'll just say it again.
You don't say why.
I'll just say it again because for fucking some reason you were so busy chewing on this turd you forgot to fucking pay attention. But yes, they are different, Tim, and here's a couple of reasons why. Race and gender are similar insofar as you are born as one or the other. They are different in that the way that gender works is that it's an internal thing that you are externalizing yourself. Race is an already external thing that other people are putting upon you. See how that's a big difference there, a big one. And here's another one. We talked about money. How you're born does affect how much money you have, just like with race and gender. How you're born matters. Differently, with money, how you interact with it and how other people interact with it affects your standing and your status and how it works with you. That doesn't happen with gender. Does happen a bit with race, though, Tim. Another one is justice. Again, how you're born actually doesn't play into whether or not you're a criminal, except unless you're in apartheid South Africa, I suppose. But it does matter as well whenever you're, interacting with other people, and other people can pass laws which change how it works. That doesn't really happen with gender, and it doesn't really happen with race very often, but it kind of does, Tim. There's some overlap there too. So you see now we have 4 different examples of social constructs that all have different rules and that can be affected by different people in different ways. That's why it's a really fucking dumb comparison to talk about being transracial as opposed to transgender. And none of it even gets close to the fact that you still don't know what the fuck being trans is, because you still said identifying as a different sex, which isn't what we're talking about. And you still talk about psychiatry, rather than grappling with the fact that biomedical sciences, biology, anthropology, and sociology are also still on the same page. So once again, Tim, I can explain the same fucking thing to you that a million other hosts have explained to you if you like, but I don't know how productive it is.
The odds of 2 psychiatrists diagnosing the same psychiatric disorder are far lower than the odds of 2 medical doctors diagnosing the same illness or injury.
Oh, man. I wonder why. Hey, when was the last time you shoved a swab into somebody's brain to get a sample of their emotional states and spread it on an agar plate and put it in an incubator to figure out what species of emotional distress that person was in, Tim? When do you think that happens?
Well, you're just highlighting that there's a very reliable source in medicine, but that doesn't really help you.
No, what I've done is I've just shown, once again, see, the problem here is I think you don't understand that different things exist. And see, like physical medicine, somatic medicine is different than psychiatric medicine. It operates in different ways. They have different ways of testing things. So because psychiatric issues aren't caused by pathogens, right? You can't contract depression, right? That's not a thing. So we don't test for these things in the same way, and they operate in ways that you call unreliable because you personally aren't familiar with how statistics work in social sciences because you only studied it as an undergrad. Anyway, with that, Tim, this has been about as useful as every one of your fucking calls. I encourage you to go pick up...
You still haven't said why you can be transgender but not transracial.
Actually, Tim, I have several times. So what I want you to do now is just
you just
go
said there are differences.
rewatch
You never
this
said
call.
what the difference is.
No, but have you considered?
Never said what the difference is, Forrest.
Tim Tarou. Tim. I actually have several times,
Tell me the
and
difference,
you just
Forrest.
haven't been
You
paying
just say there are
attention.
differences.
I don't. Yeah, Tim, I'm not going to be your fucking dancing monkey. I've said it 3 times now. Anyway, we got to do another show
No,
with
you
Jimmy
just
Snow,
said
who's
there are
calling me right now like a
differences.
bitch. So shut the fuck up, Tim. You remain an illiterate loser, and I encourage you to crack open a science textbook and learn these differences that you claim that I didn't say. And what I really think you should do is just go to this video, watch it back 30 times while you read that textbook. And then you'll see that I say the same things that the textbook says. It'll be a lot of fun. Anyway, that's the whole show. Lux, do you have anything before you wrap it?
Go to patreon.com/calltheline to support the show and stick around because we're about to send you over to Jimmy and Alyssa for the podcast. And Jimmy is now calling me. God, shut up. I get it. Okay.
Right.
Goodbye.
Bye.